Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to say hi and introduce myself. I know there's a lot of familiar faces in here that I've met, and I got to see everybody dress up Friday night. Everyone was so beautiful. I'm 2 feet with GFS Home Loans. I'm the in-house lender, and I sit right down the hallway, right across from Rachel Wilson. And if I haven't met you, please come by and say hello. As you know, rates are going to start to inch down. So make sure you guys get your buyers pre-qualified, and I look forward to working with everyone, and hopefully y'all come by and say hi. Enjoy the class today. Oh, by the way, I understand that we may have some prizes, and one of the prizes will be dinner with me, you and a +1. And if you know me, I like to eat a lot, so be prepared. be prepared to go somewhere nice and you get a lot of good food. Y'all enjoy.
Happening right now in my brain.
Stop it. Do the wheel. No, stop it. Do the wheel.
We're gonna do a raffle and.
I have no idea what.
Oh, mamma mia, mamma mia.
All right.
I couldn't.
Should we do a choose thing first?
Sure.
Okay, guys. If you RSVP'd and you are here, then you are eligible to play. So now we're just gonna play it, and you get to go with a +1 with 2 for dinner.
Dinner with 2?
Dinner with 2.
I got you, boo.
Okay. And again, if the person is not here, we're gonna move to the next one.
Must be present to win.
Must be present to win. Marina, is she here? Marina Borja, are you here? Not here? All right, next. Do it again. Iris. Is Iris here? No? 10, 2, 1. I'm fast. Okay, next. Almost. Rodrigo Reyes, are you here? Woo! All right, sir. Get ready to be fancy with a +1, 2. Where is she?
Wait, is it +1 or +2? It's with
It's a +1 or a +2? What plus a 1?
You get it?
That's me.
Oh, you're the +1? Oh, yeah. Hold on, let's take a picture. Do you want to come over here so I can take a better picture since it's not starting yet?
A nice backdrop though.
There you go. All right.
Okay.
Jason.
Right, here we go.
Cheese.
I know.
Got
He's
it.
got his personal branding going on here.
Just in case I forget who I am.
Jen can hear us, so we know we're live now.
Hey, everybody, how you doing?
Hello, Keller Williams.
All right, guys. So Value².
Yes, it's the conversation of the moment.
It is, by the way.
Let's
Let's go. Let's
go. All right, so we got to do some housekeeping here.
okay.
And hit slideshow, top right.
Sorry, guys, we have to set our computer up so that
There we go. Value². There we are. All right, let's start with some disclaimers. As always, friends, TCPA is very, very real. You must comply with the TCPA and any other federal, state, or local laws, including business-to-business calls and texts. Never call or text from a number on the do not call list, and do not use an auto dialer or artificial voice or pre-recorded message without proper consent. Please contact your own attorneys to make sure that you are operating a business in full compliance. That is no joke.
no, and the reason we put it here is because last year that was the lawsuit of the year.
Yes.
That we settled that for everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was a big change.
I will say
And
this,
now we're talking about the new lawsuit that
Yeah.
we settled for everybody.
Yes,
I think you read that disclaimer enough that they should be paying you royalties.
I should.
I mean,
They're gonna build that into
Yeah.
the next one.
Well, you know, the industry has been, a little lax in terms of respecting the law.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna take the time to build a business, you
Oh,
should
yeah.
build it in compliance.
That's right. Just be in compliance. That's exactly right.
This is a new one, Jay.
yeah, negotiating commissions. So commissions are not set by law or practice and are fully negotiable. Probably gonna hear us say this a few times over the course of this class.
Commissions are not set by law.
Yeah, there is no standard commission in pricing, and it will vary from agent to agent and market conditions. KWRI does not determine commissions and plays no role in establishing commissions. By the way, that's the way it's always been.
Always been. I had someone send me an email, I guess it was, Sunday,
Mhm.
and said, so does this affect our standard commission?
Oh,
What are you
yeah.
talking about?
And I literally lost it, and I came back, and this guy had put it out over, he was, marketing to the industry about, I'm gonna show you how to do it, you know, now that your standard commission doesn't exist.
Oh, he was one of the gurus.
He's one of the gurus, and I went, oh my God, you're part of the problem.
Yes.
There's no standard commission that ever was.
All right, so likewise, offers of cooperative compensation are fully negotiable and not required by law or practice. We'll hit some of those notes like for our settlement, I'm sure, as we go. Offers of cooperative compensation must be openly discussed with your client and authorized in writing, we repeat, in writing before they are made or accepted. KWRI plays no role in agent decisions to offer or accept cooperative compensation because that's also the seller's choice and imposes no requirements on agents to offer or accept cooperative compensation.
There you
Did I
go.
miss anything?
No,
It
All right.
says it all.
no. Mm-mm. And the truth of the matter is, it's always been that way. That's how it was always supposed to be. Now, there's rule changes to make absolutely sure that we understand that there are, legal and financial consequences, to violate all of this.
And rules change over time.
Yeah, of course.
And
they
that's
do.
okay.
That's right. That's well, that's great perspective. I mean, just as a sidebar, and that is, if you go back to this great industry, which is, you know, since the beginning of time, just in the last 100 years, the amount of rules changes that have occurred. What happens is you go through a period of like 20 or 25 years and there's no change. And that's an entire generation of people in the real estate industry.
Yes.
Right? So all of a sudden, you've got 70, 80% of the people never seen a change. So then when they get one, they go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, there's a change, right? And you go, well, okay, perspective. That's exactly right. There's been changes.
Well, and this is why during the vision speech, we always give such a long time horizon and everything, because if you talk about interest rates over the last 15 years, you've greatly mistold the story.
Yeah.
You have to look over a period of time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
100%.
That's the key to it. All right. Here we go.
Yeah, so so we call this value square for a reason. And the reason is because value is at the heart of all businesses, because all businesses are an exchange of
Value.
value. That's exactly right. You determine the value that you provide, and your clients are then going to determine how valuable they think it is to them. The goal of this material is to help you understand how important value is, how you can build a business around it.
That line, you determine the value that you provide. Now, that's a big sentence.
Well, that's exactly right. And the biggest challenge is the way the industry, we're not going to talk about this lawsuit and all that today, in any sort of detail, but let's just remember that there was a system of doing business that we currently have that will be modified in July, that actually people then began to believe that the value is inherent in the system instead of the real estate agent bringing the value to it.
Mhm.
And so what's happening is, I think a lot of people are going, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And you go, well, just go deliver value.
Yeah.
Just go deliver the value, and the value that you offer will then be evaluated by the buyer or seller, and they'll determine what value they place on that financially.
which goes into the actual kind of law of value score.
Yeah, it says that the value you give determines the value you get. I'll say it again. The value you give determines the value you get. The challenge, and this is a real challenge for all businesses, is they have to explain and demonstrate the value they will give so well that people agree to price to their price before they experience it. That's the issue.
Yeah. And we are working with repeat customers that on average are doing it once every 10 years, which means we can't assume that they know anything about the value of what we deliver. And that's probably part of the problem is we've made assumptions about what they understand, and it's our opportunity to do a better job.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
The thing that I thought was interesting there is when we started this, we were talking about the real estate business, and very quickly we evolved to the challenge of all business.
All business. This is the challenge of all business, right? Yeah. So there's three ways that real estate agents present and deliver their value. One, we establish trust. Two, we provide a fiduciary representation. Number three, we deliver core services with a positive and memorable client experience that will also surprise and delight.
They're all important.
They're all important. Right? And we put it into this graphic form that kind of gives you a way to think about it. Jay, you want to talk about the sandwich?
Yeah, I call it the sandwich because if you look at 1 and 2, they make the top and the bottom bun of your, I'm going to call it a cheeseburger.
Okay.
That's my favorite cheat meal, right? So you've got establish and build trust, which is on the top. And that happens throughout the moment you first meet with them, all the way through the end of the transaction and beyond. We are building and establishing trust. On the bottom, we're providing fiduciary representation.
That's right.
The moment we list a buyer or seller, we've gone from a customer to a client relationship, and we now have the fiduciary duty, which is a whole different level of value. And can we communicate that? And it shows up throughout the transaction. Now, the meat in the middle, this is where we take action, right? Not just how the first and second or how we do it. 3, 4, and 5 are what we do. We provide our core services, and we should be very, very clear on what those are and the value to the customer. We're going to make an experience out of it. How we do it matters. And 5, we're going to surprise and delight. And this is where our top agents, they find moments of truth, and we'll help highlight them, where they recognize they can over deliver for people and surprise and delight them to make it truly memorable.
So as we get into this, we start on this number one, this idea of establishing and building trust. How does this work?
Well, the way we thought about it was as a circle of trust, right? And that is empathy, competency, transparency, and then dependability. So number one is you have to show empathy, right? And you do this through showing understanding and caring and be authentic.
What's that old adage? If people don't know that you care, they won't care what
They
they
don't
know.
care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So empathy simply is just demonstrating that you actually understand their situation, you care about them, and that's authentic. It's not a sales pitch. You're not acting. It's very real. And then you move to competency, and that is demonstrate that you have the knowledge and the skills and the experience in order to get the job done. And then number 3 is always be transparent. Be transparent about everything, right? Which is honesty, clarity, openness, and communication at all times, right? Just be honest, be open, always communicate, right? When in doubt, tell them everything. This is the way I think about
When
it.
in doubt, disclose.
When in doubt, disclose. When in doubt, tell them everything. Tell everybody everything.
There's been times where I've kept information kind of back, and I've got many instances where I've regretted that decision.
Yeah.
The times where I've been transparent may have been uncomfortable, but I don't have any regrets about choosing transparency. And if there's one
Never
of
will.
these 4, that's the theme of why we're here today, is that we have an opportunity to be more transparent in everything we do. Make no assumptions about
Yeah.
what they understand.
Yeah, that's right. And then the last one is dependability, and that is that you keep your promises and expectations are met, and you maintain confidentiality.
No, as you look at this isn't just trust in business, but this is the essence of trust in our
Yeah.
interpersonal relationships, our business relationships. When those of us raising little people, like this drawing becomes very powerful.
Yeah, I care about you. I can do the job. I'm going to be very transparent at all times, and you can count on me.
Mhm.
I mean, that would be one simple way to say that.
I think a lot of folks have a tendency to define trust as simply, I do what I say I'm going to do. Trust me. The challenge with that is when you skip the empathy and the competency and the transparency, and you make the definition so utilitarian, you lose all these other opportunities.
Well, you lose relationship is what you lose. And now you've reduced it down to a simple transaction of you hired me, I did it, pay me, have a nice day.
So since
And a lot of people in our industry have built really good businesses that are frankly transactional instead of relational. This is relational.
Since we built this circle, I've been taking this with me on appointments, and I actually open with this and say, look, we're going to talk about a lot of things today, but all of our relationship is going to be built on trust. And I'd like you to know how I define it. And then after I tell you, I'd like you to help me edit it so that I know how you define trust. You know what I'm finding? Very few people have ever thought this thoroughly around a definition of trust. And they move closer to me emotionally when I start defining the words that have meaning in their life.
Yeah, trust is real. Trust is really important, Jason. I like to share with you the way I think about trust, right? And I'd love to hear your thoughts as we build this relationship together. Because I want you to trust me, and I want to be able to trust you.
When you assume that everybody defines the same words the same, we end up with misunderstanding.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Not everyone thinks about trust. Not everyone thinks about love the way that you do either. We have to define these words.
Well, and again, a lot of people just say, you know, I'm just going to go about my job. I'm going to be competent and I'm going to do it, and everything will take care of itself. There's a certain amount of truth to that, right? I don't want to go all intellectual on this. There's a certain amount of truth of here's the job. I did the job. Have a nice day. On to the next job. There's some truth to that. But at the end of the day, if your goal is to maximize your opportunities, to maximize your compensation, that's not how you do it. Yeah, that's not how you do it.
So if you talk about, go ahead.
No, you just build trusting relationships.
That's the realtor for life method, right? I want to be your realtor for life.
Irreplaceable.
Yes.
So we talk about how trust is built, which is through these steps. Then you get into this conversation of how trust is lost. And the first one here says that you fail to show empathy and your clients will question your sincerity. If you fail to deliver on competency, your clients will question your expertise. If you fail to provide transparency, your clients will question your ethics. That one stings a bit.
Yeah.
And if you fail to ensure dependability, your clients will question your integrity. When you fail to set expectations, you're setting yourself up to lose trust. And the challenge is when trust is lost, so is your reputation. And the minute that happens, you can forget about reviews, ratings, and referrals.
Yeah. So think about it as sincerity, expertise, ethics, and integrity.
Yeah.
Those are the things that you want, right?
I think a lot of like in our industry, a lot of us are really upset and affronted by the way we're being portrayed in the media right now. And I think it's because if we want to be accountable, was there a failure to provide transparency in the past that has made people question who we are? And we all know who we are. And we're like, we know what we do for clients. We need to do a better job of being transparent about that and sharing it. Because that's the thing that drives me crazy. I know who we work with every day. Ethics is not our problem.
No, that I think that's the burning thing in everyone's tummy, which is that, I went to bed last week on Thursday knowing exactly who I am. I woke up on Friday and then people thought that I was a villain or that I was something else. Now I want to rush and remind everybody who I am.
Well, we certainly have a piling on of misinformation about our industry.
Yes.
It's a little staggering.
And it stings.
Yeah, but don't get caught up in the moment. Allow this just to play out. Okay. And again, behave in a manner that the people that you're dealing with see your sincerity. They recognize your expertise. They absolutely see that you're ethical, and they realize they can depend upon you, and they believe you're a person of integrity. And if you behave that way, you're going to move right through all of the drama or theatrics or whatever is going on right now. This is just a moment in time. At the end of the day, we have to get back to the business of helping people buy and sell real estate in the marketplace.
Which by and large, they really love doing with real estate agents. I mean, all the data is amazingly clear. People really like the services that we provide.
Well, we were talking, before we got on this class today, And it's a really interesting thing to simply say, okay, great. If the seller hires someone to represent them, the buyer's at a disadvantage if they don't. If the buyer hires someone to represent them and the seller represents themselves, the seller's at a disadvantage. Meaning that if one of the parties decides to hire, and by the way, if neither one of them have representation, they're both in trouble.
Yeah.
They're in trouble. I mean, there's a reason why there's two real estate agents there. The press right now would have you believe that one of them maybe isn't as valuable. But that's going to prove out not to be true, by the way.
We know it's not true.
Yeah, we know it's not true.
Yeah.
We know what's going to happen if someone walks in and says, I'm unrepresented, and tells a real estate agent, but I want to handle your listing.
There's
And we
a
all,
mountain of data around FSBOs. Do they actually net more money?
No.
No, they don't sell for more. They run into more trouble. It takes longer, more transactions fall out. There's a mountain of data on when sellers represent themselves. It's not as easy to track it for buyers.
What has a fool for a client?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. So then you get into this idea that if I know how trust is lost, there are these moments, Jay.
I think that we have both sellers and buyers. So we'll have 8 moments for sellers and buyers. And what's funny is that the front and the back end, it's the same part of the process.
yeah,
Right. We build trust when we make first contact, when we present our value, reach agreement, and set expectations. And I just want to keep coming back to every time we set expectations is that opportunity to build massive amounts of trust because we're setting expectations around what we know we can deliver.
I think that's so right. I think the most powerful 2 sentences in real estate moving forward might be, here's what happens next, and here's what you can expect from me.
Yeah.
By the way, you can't go wrong saying those 2 things.
that's right.
So this middle part is a little bit different, right? If you're a buyer or a seller, when you're educating them around the key milestones in the process, right? For a buyer or seller, that's going to be different. Even though there's a lot of overlap. Executing your marketing plan on the listing, right? Number 4. 5, providing ongoing communication and feedback. Now you get to the end, both sides, we're both negotiating contracts. We go through due diligence, we end the transaction. So the moments of truth for buyers and sellers aren't that different. And if we go to buyers,
Go back for a second.
you can just see the middle part is the only part that changes.
Yeah, I don't want to gloss over this too fast, okay? The reason is because there's a lot here. What we did was we looked at the entire transaction from beginning to end, and we asked ourselves, what are the moments of truth where you can focus in on making sure that trust matters?
Yeah.
Right. Instead of walking around and saying, from beginning to end, every little detail, blah, 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 blah. What we were asking ourselves were, could we narrow this down to the key moments in a transaction? Okay, or the key moments in marketing a property and selling it, key moments of working with a buyer, finding a property and getting that closed. What would be the key moments that you need to pay attention to? And that's what these are, by the way. These are the key moments, right? First time you meet them, first time that you present your value reach agreement and set the expectations.
That's a huge one.
Yeah, and by the way, when you're educating around the key milestones in the process, you're marketing their property, the ongoing communication. Now we have a contract, we negotiate it, we work through the due diligence period, and we close it. So we have these 8 moments that literally frame out a transaction for a seller.
And if you go back to the circle, because you're all going to get these slides and new connects, you'll be able to do it. But when you go back to the circle and you say, okay, when I'm making first contact, boom, I have to show empathy. I have to understand what they're trying to accomplish. Now I get into number 2. I have to be able to show competency. So I have to be able to present my value. I got to explain the entire process. Now I get into transparency. How am I going to market the property? And then the rest of these are, do I keep my word and do I meet the expectations?
Yeah, I think that's one way to think about it. The other one is to realize that in each of these 8 phases, those 4 things matter.
And all of them.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
empathy, competency, transparency, right?
You know-
Accountability is on each of these that has to exist.
Caroline from San Francisco,
Yeah.
the best, right? She also made the point that outside of these for the buyer and the seller, there are these other moments to build trust or lose it, which is when a problem happens.
Yeah, how you respond when something goes wrong makes a big difference. How you show up in terms of the customer experience. And I always like your line. Don't judge me by my mistakes. Judge me about how I respond to them.
Yeah, what I do after I discover I made one.
Yeah, because that's like ultimately that's the outcome they're looking for. You have to calm things down, demonstrate your value and expertise, and follow through, make it right.
Yeah. Once you get over your bad self and realize that you will make mistakes in life, no matter how brilliant you think you are, you begin to embrace the idea that mistakes are an opportunity to reaffirm what they thought they believed in you, right?
I remember early on, I made a mistake and you said, "Oh man, you made a beautiful mistake." And I didn't know what that meant. And you said, "Well, look how you showed up to handle it. You created more emotion solving it than you ever would have if the mistake not happened."
We prove more about our character when we make a mistake than when we don't.
Love that.
Yeah.
And so don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to say, I'm sorry. Don't be afraid to say I messed up. Don't be afraid to go, oops, dive in and remind them of who you are, that you care, right? Yeah. That literally that you can do the job, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. You're gonna be transparent and they can count on you.
Love that.
Yeah.
So now we get into it with buyers.
Yeah, I jump back and forth when I teach this by myself because like 5 of the steps are identical. It's just who you're addressing them to.
That's right.
The middle part, right? You'll have to qualify them, search for properties, and show properties.
The rest
Is the
same.
part where that's unique to the buyer experience. And so we want to make sure that we're making that quality experience for them throughout with empathy, trust, the whole thing.
So here's the one thing. Remember, we're talking about a profession here.
Yes.
We're not talking about a job. Okay. We're talking about a profession. If you intend to be professional,
Mhm.
one of the things we would ask you to do is take a few moments and ask yourself, when you first make contact, how are you creating trust? And then just go through the 4, right? And say, how am I demonstrating empathy, that I care and understand? How am I showing that I'm competent?
Mhm.
How am I showing, right, that I'm going to be transparent? And then how am I showing that I can be dependent upon? And then you go to number 2, and it's the same thing when I'm presenting my value, reaching agreement, and setting expectations. How, again, do I show these 4 things when you're qualifying them? When I'm doing that, how do I behave in a manner that creates trust by displaying these 4 things? And if you just sat down and just took an hour or 2 and just wrote down what you thought, it would probably change your life forever.
Man, that's how I got to adding the trust circle as the first page in my presentation. Because when I'm making first contact, I demonstrate trust by teaching what the meaning is.
Love that.
And
I love it too.
and
I think that's smart.
and the way that you do it, and as we get into it, you'll know the way that Gary qualifies a buyer. We had this great, amazing role play where Gary said, "Let me teach you how to do it." And I said, "Okay." And he went and he got a Texas Instrument calculator from the 80s, brought it in, and he literally qualified me and told me how much of a house I could afford.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to the end of that, you know you're wildly competent.
Oh yeah.
And you're gonna check the loan officer for me.
Oh yeah.
Like in that moment, I was like, okay, this is a guy I can trust. He
Oh, yeah.
gets it.
Oh yeah. It's the same with a seller. And you say, well, I can handle all this without seeing the house. And you go, whoa. Well, number 1, I thought you're in the real estate business. I thought you liked seeing houses, But number 2, this is your great opportunity, right? You pull up to the house and you stand out in front for a while, right? You pull on the grass, you look at trees. You might even take a measure out and measure the circumference of a tree.
Yeah, I know
You
things about
might.
trees. That's right.
You might, or you count them or whatever. Then you go to the door and right, or they see what you're doing and they come out. What are you doing? Well, I'm just trying to understand. Let me ask you a question. Is this the original lawn? Were all these trees original? I mean, I can tell that one was. Tell me about this. Tell me about and how do you maintain this? What does the grass die at certain points of the year?
Mhm.
That's empathy and competency.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
how it comes together in this experience.
Well, and a lot of real estate agents go, it's grass, Keller, and it's a tree. Can we move on?
You've missed the
I-
art. in
You've
that.
missed the art of the fun, the art and the fun
Yeah.
of demonstrating trust or creating trust, if you will, right? And then you go through the front door and you stop and say, if you would walk me through the house. And I'd really love to know what's your favorite rooms? What do you like about it and dislike about it? Any issues or problems? And then you go. And by the way, you just ask the questions. This is the original floor, right? Blah, 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 blah.
So like, I remember when Bob Kess was showing us around looking for our first home, we were in a certain neighborhood and we got out of the car and he goes, hold on, let's look at the sidewalk. And I'm like, why are we looking at the sidewalk? And he goes, you see those initials? And he goes, those are the initials of the architect. And if you walk around this neighborhood, about 1 in 5 homes was built by this. And I can tell you the kind of living room it's going to have, like the choices. Like I was like, this guy knows everything. I was blown away.
Yeah.
But like the other thing, we teach new agents this, right? All the way back, like you say, if you've never shown a home or anything, like go preview 5 homes every day. Like start to know the inventory, because you could walk into that listing and, I've looked at all 7 of the other homes that are available in this neighborhood, and I noticed that you made a different choice. What you immediately showed is like, I don't just know, I'm learning your home, but I know all of the homes that are competing with it. There are so many ways we can, in person, in the real estate, we can demonstrate our expertise and knowledge.
So one of the mistakes, again, not to beat this too
We're having
much.
too much fun.
Yeah, but understanding construction, one of the mistakes that real estate agents make is they don't actually understand real estate.
Yeah, that is a mistake.
That's a soffit.
Well, right, they don't actually know.
I'm getting text after text from people who are saying how they go into houses to show.
Yeah.
And by the way, it looks like For the Love of Real Estate is alive. You got a lot of real estate agents that love going into real estate.
How about that? Good for you.
That's so cool.
Absolutely.
Keep 'em
You
coming.
should have fun. I mean, and again, I get it. It's the 1 hour presentation. I set the timer. I run into the house. If I'm not in an hour, send in the police, I'm dead. Right. And right. I mean, there has been this mentality, this race to transact. And it's a head scratcher for me at a certain level. I understand the need for speed, and I understand the need to be proficient, efficient, do the job so that you can do more jobs. I get all of that, but there's something magic that happens on the front end of any relationship.
Yes.
And if you spend the time to do it, it's no different than you went through high school with someone, you didn't see them for 40 years. And then you run into them.
Sure.
And it's kind of like connect, kadoo, and your spouse is looking at you going, my God, you're like a teenager again. You're a doofus.
Yeah.
And I can't help it when I run into, I'm back and, and then you discover, man, I really liked you and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
There's a great romance about this industry. For the love of real estate, it's a very real thing.
Yeah, you gotta love real estate, and you have to demonstrate that you love real estate. Honestly, I mean,
That's it.
it's a big deal.
And it kind of pulls us into the next.
Let's stop. Can I just tell a story?
Would you?
Yeah, I actually told it on the witness stand too. Nobody cared, but
You have a better audience now.
yeah, well, I just want to demonstrate something, and that is one of my very first people that I ever worked with and put in my car was Bill and Peggy Brubeck, and they were both divorced, had met each other, were starting a new life, and came from Florida to Austin and to start a new business.
It's so you remember the name of your first clients.
Oh, 100%.
Touch some sky if you remember the name of your first clients. And by the way, there's hands going up in training rooms everywhere.
Of course.
Everyone does.
Gene Volley Smith, the first listing I ever took. Gene Volley. I mean, I remember it absolutely. So like, he had a construction background. Okay, so he knew more than me. I'm 22 years old, right? And I'm driving a Volkswagen Beetle, right? And but anyway, we looked and we we couldn't find anything, and it was really hard. I couldn't find it, and and then I get a phone call, and like on a Monday, and they had gone out, they had gone to a subdivision. They had seen the Conan Homes and liked it, picked out a lot, and bought a to be built.
Oh, the dreaded new construction move.
Well, it was and immediately
Your stomach drops.
yeah, and I'm going, I guess I'm out. And he said, and by the way, we put in a
Certain number.
and it was a bigger number than most people get, commission for you for how hard you worked.
Oh, wow.
And we told the builder to put it in.
That must have been overjoyed, shocked.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is about Bill and Peggy are both dead now.
That's not the funny.
I know,
We're
I
gonna
thought
get
the
to
same
funny.
thing.
That's not the-
No, Bill and Peggy did 5 years before Bill passed away. we were at a, Christmas service and I always sit in the back row. Typical me. I gotta get out.
Yeah.
I gotta get in and get out, right? And all of a sudden I hear this loud voice and I recognize it. And I look over and there's Bill holding court with his huge family. And I make an offhand remark, Bill, you need to be quiet, you know, we're in a church. He looks up, Gary comes over and immediately tells my son this story. He said, I created your father.
He took full
He
credit.
took full credit. He said, I created your father and this, and I did this. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah. His kids knew the story. So the end of all of this is Peggy passed away about 2 years ago. And all of a sudden I got an email and it said, this is one of her kids. And over the years, we heard the stories of you looking for homes and helping mom and dad buy their house. And we thought it'd only be fitting. We need to sell the home that you help us.
That's so
So
great.
And then we help the kids sell the house.
Yeah, by the way, that is such a real estate agent story.
It is.
I got Kurt and Natalie Campbell out there, 2 teachers that knew I didn't know necessarily everything I was doing, but they were happy to teach and learn along with me. You'll never forget the first.
No. Well, my point of the story is that how many years is that? That would have been 1970, it would have been 1980.
44.
44.
44
44
years
years.
late, 42 years later, I get the phone call from the kids. Would you help us?
Realtor for life.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why is because you understood this idea of fiduciary
100%.
very clearly. Take us through this.
Yeah, I actually used to have a site, fiduciary versus functionary.
Before there
.com.
were sites.
Yeah,
right,
.com. Yeah, back in the 90s. Yeah, so the most important client decision that you'll ever make is this. A functionary is someone who simply does the tasks for someone. A fiduciary is the one who not only does the tasks, but is also in a high trust relationship with you, right? They feel totally responsible for the outcome. They put their client's interest above their own and treat all client information as confidential. What I find fascinating is everybody's running around right now worried about what their compensation is going to be. I have to be candid with you. I never worried about it.
No?
I never thought about it. And I'm not worried about it today.
Because you never strayed from being a fiduciary.
No, I never, no.
You-
Not at all. Don't worry about what you're going to get paid. Worry about whether people are satisfied and happy with the results that you help them achieve. They will pay you.
Wow.
They will pay you. Get out of this fear mode.
What was interesting about this as we go through it is when we started researching the current idea of the word fiduciary and we Googled it, you had to go a bunch of pages before they ever got to real estate agent. Apparently,
I know.
the lawyers,
I
they
know.
were there,
I know.
definitely, the financial advisors and the bankers, but it's almost like the world forgot that we're one of the original fiduciaries.
Yeah, I think the reason why we get into functionary too fast, a lot of times is because we're afraid that we're not going to make any money. And the truth of the matter is that's a lead generation problem. That's not a fiduciary functionary problem.
Why do you think money plays into that choice?
Well, because I only have one client. I only have one potential client. I better charge them as much as I can get, and I better worry about if I'm going to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
But I promise you, at the highest level of this industry, it's the opposite. Those real estate agents are not worried about getting paid. They have no doubt whatsoever they're going to get paid the most amount of money they deserve to be paid for the value they provide, and they just care about their people. I still remember Althea Osborne, right? One of the first 8 agents, I think she was agent number 8 we ever recruited in the company, right? And
Still active today, by the way.
still active today. Yeah, bless her. She's just a phenomenal human being at so many levels. And I still remember that she had a client that she sold a home to. It was an investment property. He was the CEO of an up-and-coming tech company, but he then got worried about whether he thought it was a good deal or not. And she told him, look, Jim, up until closing, if you want to back out at any moment, I'll simply close instead.
She was gonna buy it?
No, she ended up buying it. He did back out.
Oh, wow.
And she did buy it.
Oh,
She built her entire career off that relationship. I can't tell you because he built Crystal Semiconductor. He built one of the largest tech startups in Austin, Texas later, and they became the best friends. They became, I think it was bridge or whatever they used to play. I mean, they became dear, dear friends, the Clardies and the Osbornes. And she handled all of his relocation. She became almost like a confidant to Jim personally.
Well, that'll build a heck of a lot of trust.
You're not kidding.
I mean, the most common version I hear, if
Probably.
you go on a listing appointment and you say, are you sure you want to sell? That agent that says, well, maybe this should be an investment property, or maybe you can still keep this and get the other, because they're clearly not putting their paycheck first. Like every time you demonstrate that, trust goes through the roof.
Yeah, I just want to
think
point
that's
out
right.
that she was a brand new agent when she did it.
Really?
Yeah, that was her.
That's just who she was.
That's right. It was her first year in the business
Wow.
when she was still trying to be successful.
So I
She
think
was willing to do it.
this idea that you're a fiduciary, when you accept the responsibility of using your best judgment to interpret information and then educate, consult, and guide your client to an outcome you're accountable to. That's a huge idea,
Yeah.
and it shows up everywhere. So someone said to me that I was teaching this course, and someone said, well, you know, ordering photos is pretty functionary. I called the photographer. And I thought about it for a second. I took a step back and said, couldn't disagree with you more.
Mm,
I remember ordering photos. It was an $18 million listing right on the Pacific Coast Highway. So you have this beautiful home, then you have the highway, then you have the Pacific Ocean. It's gorgeous right next to Pepperdine. And I remember thinking, in order to make the most of this house, I got to shoot the photos in the morning to get the light off the water.
well,
I'm also going to have to shoot photos later in the day, or the front of the house is going to look dark.
Mm.
I also can't do a drone because I don't want to show that this thing is on a highway. Then I got 150 photos in a giant file and I picked the best 18. And every minute of that was fiduciary. There's nothing that we
And you
do.
can pick the photographer, someone who's a specialist in photographing properties, not puppies.
100%. But here's the challenge, that if you don't articulate any of this,
mm,
the seller looks up and says, great, he called a photographer. That's what this course is all about.
it is. I said it earlier and I'll say it again. You're in the real estate industry. Learn real estate. Right, learn real estate. I was blessed or cursed with the fact that I got a degree in real estate. So I spent 2 years in a university studying real estate and then working for a developer / appraiser for free, right, as an intern before I got out of college.
Mm.
So I showed up as a broker at age 21
Wow.
with a broker's license.
I didn't realize that.
Mhm.
You got the broker's license early.
Yeah, I got that. I was a broker. I came out of
Came out as a broker.
yeah, 100%.
Ah,
Yeah, and I started teaching in the junior colleges within 90 days or 4 months or whatever of being in the industry. Because I understood real estate. I understood contracts really well. And one of the challenges that we have as adults is that we have to remember that education is never out, right, of vogue for professionals. And I will tell you this, not to turn us into intellectuals or information, wonks, but the more time you can spend to understand real estate, it will pay off in spades.
agreed.
Yep.
It will.
So you get into this idea, and you helped us build this chart. Now, this chart's evolved over the years. In the
Yeah.
magnificent real estate game, there was 35 on each side, and then in
Yeah.
MREA, there was 18 on each side. We brought it down to 8.
Yeah, we did. So think about it this way. It's a shallow relationship versus a deep relationship. It assumes the least responsibility or it accepts the most. It reports just data and information, or it interprets and advises on that data and information, reacts to requests or anticipates it.
That's a big one.
Focuses on task or focuses on outcomes, tells and sells or educates and guides.
That's a big one.
Well, and the challenge there is that we're called real estate salespeople.
Yeah.
And so we tend to be more in the tell and sell mode versus the educating guide, which I think is a mistake. I
Mhm.
really do. I think you don't need to try to sell people anything. Just educate and guide, focus on the outcomes and help them make good decisions. Replaceable versus what happens is when you have a deep relationship where you've accepted the responsibility, you're an interpreter for the data information that comes their way, you anticipate their needs, you focus on their outcomes, and you educate and you guide them, guess what? You're going to be irreplaceable and highly paid.
When you-
Highly.
When you look at this, like the one that I love is number 3. Like with the advent of listings on the internet And all the information now they got unleashed from the proprietary MLS, and it's all in the hands of agents. Do people use more or less agents now? More.
It went up.
Highest ever. And why? Because it's not the information they need. They need someone, a professional, to interpret it.
Yeah.
And we watched it go from like 80% to like 95% will work with a realtor, largely because of our ability to help them process all of that information and make a good decision, which is now educate and guide.
Yeah, on the witness stand, they asked me about that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they went right at this question of technology has impacted all other industries, but in real estate, it hasn't. And the reality is and I answered it by saying that's because the work is the work.
Yes.
The work is the work. And all the technology so far has been involved in the operating systems and the display of property. It hasn't actually taken any of the workload off of the work. It's still the work.
Yes, which is, by the way, technology hasn't lowered the cost of moving. It hasn't lowered the cost of landscaping services. It hasn't lowered the cost of the legal industry. Matter of fact, the rates have never been higher to go higher.
By the way, it hasn't lowered the cost of cars, and it hadn't lowered the cost of flying in an airplane.
But TVs are cheap.
Yeah. Well, isn't that the craziest thing?
It's nuts. If you don't have a new TV, I don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
You with the smart ones.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Our economist Ruben pointed out something. There's like a paper going around about how much commissions are going to be lost. And when he like really dug into it, and we'll go into this in our masterminds, he just said, if you look at their assumption on the value of a buyer's agent, it's basically someone to open the door. They were assuming minimal
Functionary.
service
Oh,
functionary.
oh,
And
thank you for
That's
bringing this
why
up.
I was like, are you kidding me? That's how they're attributing all of that?
The entire world right now is literally interpreting the real estate industry as functionaries. They are.
It's a mistake.
Well, A, it's insulting.
Yes.
Yes.
And B, it reflects though that we haven't done a good enough job in that circle of trust and showing up and behaving like a true fiduciary. If you're transactional, it will feel functional.
I think that's right. And one of the other reasons that I think it shows up is because we have become wildly good at this and wildly efficient at
Oh,
getting
yeah.
this process done.
Yes,
So
that's
the
right.
challenge becomes we
That's right.
do 10,000 things behind the scenes. The buyer or the seller has no idea about it. And then they look up at the end and they discount it because they didn't know. And they say, well, all they did was put a sign in the yard. And y'all know that's not the truth, which is why we switch gears here in a minute. And we're going to break it down,
Yeah.
sellers and buyers.
Yeah.
So think of it like this to recapture. You've now done the trust, which was the bun on the top. You understand the difference between functionary and fiduciary. And we are hoping you've chosen to live on the right side of this screen.
That's right.
And by the way, it's not on the right side for some things. You can turn anything into a fiduciary experience.
That's right.
And now we're going to get into the actual meat of this thing. Jay, start us off with sellers.
Well, what do they want? Like, if we want to talk about service, you have to ask, what are the outcomes that sellers are looking for? And we kick this around and we can boil it down to they want to net the most amount of money with the fewest amount of hassles in the least amount of time. That's going to cover 99.98% of all sellers, like what they actually need from the transaction.
Oh, yeah.
They may want some other stuff, but that's what they need.
I think it's always been true since the beginning of time, and it will be true at the end of time.
Yes.
That's exactly.
It's
right.
never going to change.
But here's the thing, as you print these slides, this might be one you want to have hanging up on your whiteboard. And we're going to give you one for buyers also, because as soon as you forget what the ultimate goal is, you end up getting all wonka-do on the way that you provide the services.
Well, it's also
Right.
how you communicate them. Like, I'm doing this because I want you to net the most amount of money. And here's how we handle that because we want to avoid these likely hassles that other people might experience. And by the way, because we use this technology and these services, it's going to take you less of your time. You're spelling out the wins as you go. This is how my service delivers these things.
Right, so you might, so now, we have you hanging up the trust circle, we have you hanging up, you're gonna make room on your whiteboard, you're gonna have to take your vision boards down. Those stupid boards, anyway. So
So
it's crazy, have you seen these vision boards?
Yeah.
And people, and you walk in 2 years later and they still have a picture of a yacht that no one owns. Vision, that doesn't help anyone.
So like we broke it down, we'll do this for the buyers as well, into kind of 4 stages where we deliver our core services. And like, you have to fundamentally say like, when we say we're going to market your home, like, what are we doing? Like, can we break this down in detail? So the 4 stages are consulting to the decision. It's not like the first step is, am I going to list my home? Are we helping them make a great decision? We're going to help them market the property. And Gary, like, you learned the trade when y'all had books. Like this idea that they'll see it on Zillow or whatever, like you learned, like, you know exactly how to market a home. And that might be a little bit, our marketplace was so efficient that maybe we didn't express all the things that we do know how to sell a home. Negotiating the contract.
By the way,
and
I
closing the
I
sale.
still keep right over there, the, when you say books,
I'll hand it to you.
why, these literally are the books. And this is,
I bet we have a ton of people who have
Like the
never
middle
seen
one.
that.
well, no, this is nineteen
That one right there.
this is 1970, this is 1979.
Go a little closer just so they can get a feel for that.
Well, there you go.
There's your MLS, folks.
It's so good.
How often did those come out?
There it is.
Yeah. That's the
This
MLS.
was, by the way, this was the sole property catalog, so it came out quarterly.
Okay.
So I have,
Is that how you ran comparables?
yeah, this is it.
You pull out the book and you try to do your comps that way.
Yeah,
With your HP calculator, by the way.
It's so good.
Yeah.
that with your HP 12. See.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So you have, and then you have negotiating the contract and closing the sale.
Right.
And you have a quote here at the bottom that matters.
Yeah, and you said it earlier, like, this is about setting expectation. Like, here's what happens next, right? You're always setting them up for the next step in the process, so they know what's coming and it's never a surprise, especially not an unwanted surprise.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, oh, now we have to go to marketing the property. You're just setting them up with proper expectations at every step of the way.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, let's dive in. We don't need to, we can all pick our favorites. We've done this for all 4 stages, where we break down, like, what are all the things that could be moments of truth or for your core services, the things that we actually do in effect. And the challenge that we want to give to you is that you get really, really clear about all the steps that you do, how you do them. We'll get to that later.
Yes.
And if you have any special sauce. So if you're here watching this with your team, like, when y'all look at this, it's like, well, how do we consult to a decision? Do we do all of these steps? When we talk about it, do we express that this is all the things that we do? And do we have any special sauce that we can market? And one of the things that I kind of picked up from another person is, like, we talk about MOFers. If you deliver a core service in a way that uniquely helps the seller or the buyer make more money, save more time, and like, that becomes something you can market to get more leads. Hey, I've got the busy parents packing guide, so that when you do sell this home, we minimize the hassles for you to get in and out of the house. You brand it, you market it. So we're going to go through 4 of these, but, like, are you doing all of the steps? Are you doing them in a special way that's unique to your value proposition? Are we expressing this to the client, and do we have any special sauce? Did I miss any of the high level?
No.
No, the only one that, and we saw it split, and just so everyone knows the methodology here, we collected buyers and listing presentations from tons of people. We then sat with your mastermind group and we literally had them help document for us. What is it that you do? Why do you do it? And show us how it benefits the buyer or the seller. And one of the things that folks were split on was the order between number 1 and number 2. We had a group that went in and said, here's who I am and here's why I'm incredible. Now, what are you trying to accomplish? And we had the other group that went in and said, what are you trying to accomplish? Here's how I can help. And ultimately, that's where we landed.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I think it's first you, then me.
While we're going through this,
People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care.
Right.
And I think it's a truth. So that's why we ordered it this way.
our buddy Dave Huckaker just texted and he said, what's really fascinating right now is it's one thing for someone to make a comment on social media. It's another thing for a media person to make a comment, but people that need to buy and sell real estate, they understand our value very quickly. When they need to get something done for their family, they remember why we're there.
Yep.
That was really good.
That's really well.
I'm
said.
gonna highlight the only thing with an asterisk, because this is a lot of what we're here. We're gonna go deeper on the decision. You're gonna explain what cooperative compensation is, why they would consider it, and how that will work. And that's a step that we may not everyone may have been including as an explicit step. That is no longer an option. That is now something that you're going to document in writing that you had the conversation and their decision around it, but we will go deeper on that later in the sellers.
Yeah, we should note that, of course, cooperative compensation is not required by law or practice and is fully negotiable. And the KWRI imposes no requirements to offer cooperative compensation.
We told you hear that language again and
Well,
again.
just a reminder, the law didn't, the rules and the law did not get rid of cooperative compensation.
No, and there's a difference between laws and rules. And rules apply to people that are part of, in this case, an association.
Right.
And that's what the settlement implied. All right, marketing. Take us through, Jay.
Okay, well, I mean, again, same process. What are we doing? Are we accurately describing all of the steps in terms of getting the property ready to market, how we're creating assets to market it? You talk through your thoughts just on the photographs for one home, right? And that is like 2-1, like that's down 2 levels in the process. How thoroughly are we thinking? Like, does this property require a floor plan? Is it appropriate to do that? Is that a good expense to sell this property? Will it help it sell it faster? What about flyers and postcards? Like, you have to walk through your list of assets that you might use and make a great decision with the seller.
And by the way, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Having a floor plan will always help you market the property better.
Yeah, well, and
It
that's
just will.
that's like staging. Like, we meet with Heather Kane and that you cannot argue with the numbers. She is right on the money with the way she thinks about it.
Everybody should go do business with Heather if they could.
Yep.
Agree.
You should do it. Yeah, so that's right. Those 7 items are really not suggestions.
We think
I
that
think it's very presumptuous to leave one of them out.
Share the listing binder, because that was actually something that I thought was unique to some people that I think is probably maybe a best practice we should always consider.
Well, they were doing it back in the 70s.
Okay.
it's back. So this is the idea that when you
The
rent
home
the
book.
house, you make
Yeah,
you make
You
the
got
home book.
book. That's
And the
right.
home book, as homes have gotten smarter, I don't know about your home, but I can't even get my thermostat to stay where I want it. It's now smarter than me, so it decides what the temperature's gonna be. It's really great. But everything now needs to be explained.
Yeah.
How do I use the TVs? How do I use the thermostat? How does the pool work? Give me all the information. And we
Yeah.
saw an agent who binds it all in this beautiful leather-bound book and embosses the front. And here's what she told me. She said that people get this book, they never throw it away.
No,
You
why
would
would
never, you never throw away the user manual for your home.
No.
And when
Whose contact information is in that binder?
right embossed on the front is her contact information. So even if these folks were represented previously, they now live with her book. And she says that she gets come list me phone calls every single month from leaving those books.
So dot the I, when you do something really well, it turns into lead generation without you overtly saying, give me the lead.
When another example of that is declutter. So think of it like this. It would be easy to tell somebody, Gary, you got a great office here, you got to declutter.
That'd be a problem here.
It would be a problem here. The other way that I could do it, though, if we were selling this office, is I'd send over a professional organizer to do it for you.
Yeah.
So Caroline offers for every one of her listings 5 hours with a professional organizer who comes over to the house and literally declutters for them. There's wild value there.
Well, you told me like Heather Kane has built an entire business around helping people stage their home for market. It's got software, helps people visualize what they can't see otherwise.
Well,
It's
time out.
amazing.
Oh, time out. Absolutely. What the hell? I mean, you need to declutter your house and you need to stage it for the buyer.
Yeah.
You've decorated this and you've furnished it the way you like it.
Mhm.
We now have to set that aside and ask the question, how do we make this feel like a model home?
Right, declutter and depersonalize.
Yeah,
is usually that
every
one.
professional home builder, right? Who is selling houses in mass, if you will, has a model home. There's a reason why they have a model home.
Yes.
Because they want to show you what it will look like when you move in.
When I was starting, you went,
Immediately, they never put the TV in, which drives me crazy. Anyway,
you went on real estate tour. So each week you all got in a car and you caravan to look at all the listings.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons they did
70s
it,
and 80s, yeah.
they taught all the newer agents how you stage a house.
Yeah.
And that may have been lost in the last few years.
Well, what you did was here was the value of that. And that was literally we had buses and car caravans.
Yes,
And we went and looked at every house that was listed, right, that we could get
that's
to.
what we did.
And we had cards. And you were asked, right, as you walked through the listing to write down all of your thoughts And then the agent collected those and then went back to the seller and said, our office, when we toured, here are all the cards, and I just want to go and lay them out and say, I'd like to just go through these with you and talk about it.
And it was great because it
And that
allowed
art
you
has
to,
gone
it
away.
allowed you to present information without being the one to say it. By the way, the crafty
that's right.
newer agent knew to hop in the car with the top producer and you get 3 hours of free coaching in between
Yeah.
all the houses.
Yeah, but you're not just marketing your perspective. I'm giving you the perspective of the top agents in our entire office. Like you're giving them more value than they ever
Yeah,
expected.
all we're demonstrating is that there's so many things that we used to do that as a rule, as a practice, that brought immense value.
That efficiency may have pulled out.
Oh,
The
I think,
zeal for
I think
efficiency.
the efficiency did pull it out.
But by the way, bring tour back, I would love that. And the last one I'll point out, when you look up at doing repairs, some of you say, okay, no problem. We'll give them a handy person. But we do have agents that have went the extra mile, which is they've hired a full-time handy person who literally has their team name on their truck. And all they do is drive around town doing repairs for their SOI and their active listings. Any of these things can be done as fiduciary. Now we're into negotiating contracts.
Well, can we go back for one last one? And that is run your marketing plan. So that, again, the biggest challenge that the industry has had is MLS is such an efficient system that many real estate agents begin and end with, I'm going to put it in MLS.
Yeah.
And honestly, no, no, without a doubt, you should absolutely start with coming soon. And by the way, we have that feature in Command, but you can, this whole,
Color Reserve.
yeah, Color Reserve, you absolutely, particularly now with the way the rules are changing, coming soon is your friend.
Mhm.
And it will give you a short period of time in order to tell your story any way you want before it becomes an MLS marketed property,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. So it's important. And then, by the way, absolutely use MLS, right? Make sure that your property is presented in its best possible way in MLS. Yeah.
We just had a team leader say she remembers Caravan when we used to go, she is officially starting Keller Van next
Oh,
week.
there you go.
There it is.
There you go, Caliban, yeah. Well, attracting showings. I mean, working the phones, what happens is people get so caught up in how many listings they're taking, they're forgetting to market the ones they have.
Wow.
Yeah. And attracting showings, again, is an art and a science to get people interested in your property. But again, if you bring everybody out and it's a dog,
Yes.
and you didn't do number one, right, you're gonna have a problem.
Yep.
But if you've done number one and you've done number two, number three is a joy. Number three is exciting.
If you do all of that
Yes.
strategically, I love your get an offer. Like you're like, well, are we trying to create a multiple offer or a single offer?
Always.
You can strategically try to make this line up, not just get
Always.
a offer, but to have a competitive situation.
Always.
Yeah.
The multiple offers, what everybody wants. That's what the seller wants, right? What is it? Priceline.com, when people compete,
You win.
you win.
When the airlines compete, you win.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, there you go. I mean, when buyers compete, the seller wins. And that's what the buyers don't want to compete, but the sellers want them to compete.
Well, so here's the focusing question. When you think about your marketing plan right now, is it powerful enough to create more often than not multiple offers on your listings? And here's the thing, if you think that price is the only thing that matters, I want you to know price matters. Might be, by the way, but that's nothing you're in control of. You have to have a marketing plan that you can stand behind. And it can't just be put it on the MLS and hope for the best.
Yeah, well, what again, people, real estate agents, again, who haven't become confident in their knowledge about the process and all of that, tend to go in and let the seller dictate everything. No, I'm not touching anything. No, it's gonna look just like this, dadgummit. And no, here's the price I want for that. Now get out and go do your job. Right?
That's no fun.
No, but if you don't slow down and build that circle of trust, you will be treated that way. The reason why successful real estate agents are able to get, the top ones are able to get homes decluttered and staged, even repaired if they needed some, is because they create trust.
Yeah.
To the point where the client is absolutely putty in their hands because they realize that the agent has their best interest and knows what they're talking about.
Competency.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. I mean, you go to the doctor, you don't start dictating terms. You don't start saying, well, listen, this is how it's going to go, doc. And now pull the teeth. You don't do that.
No.
You would never think about doing that with any professional you respected. You would literally ask,
What do you think?
what do you think?
How do they look
What-
in there?
Yeah, what are you gonna do, you know? And what's that gonna cost me, right? Yeah. And you never negotiate with a professional.
No, that's such a
Well-
bizarre idea. Like, you've never seen a billboard other than for LASIK that tells you what brain surgery costs.
Well, that was the whole thing about a trial like we went through, because from the witness stand, you kept wanting to say, well, do lawyers negotiate?
Actually, their own association, I think, posted their suggested fee rate, which is,
All
right. Yeah.
They're gonna get
My-
taken off the air.
No, my point, no, I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just pointing out that we're a profession too. Act like it.
Yes.
Just act like it, right? And we've been mislabeled. There probably was an era when in our industry, we were salespeople. And it's not that I'm not proud of being a salesperson, but I don't actually believe I ever sold anybody anything. So I'm not sure I am.
Yeah.
And by the way, I didn't read sales books.
You still don't?
No, I read service books.
Such a difference.
Yeah, I didn't, what do you mean sales books? I don't need to know the latest closing line, because if they're putty in my hand, I can say anything. And they're gonna say, yes, thank you. How much?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, seriously.
Yes. It's interesting. If you were a
Right.
pure salesperson, you could take someone who wants to buy a beautiful home and sell them an ugly one. And we just don't do that.
No. No.
there's
No.
So then we get into number 3, negotiate. And the goal of this stage is to negotiate the best contract possible. And that's an important line, by the way.
Yeah.
Execute it in writing, which we all know has to be done, and then advance through due diligence.
right. I
Does-
mean,
does anything-
3 big stages. You're gonna present offers. How you do it matters. We just came from an era where some of our listings were getting 50 offers.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So like how you presented them to make sure they could make a good decision mattered a lot.
I do want to make a point on that. On number 1, where it says create seller net sheet, there's a ton of ways to do it. And we saw them all. One prevalent way was they reach out to their title partner, and the title partner creates this net sheet, and then they PDF it to the client.
Mhm.
The other group pretty much said, I literally either do a Zoom call or I go to their house, I sit down next to them with a pen and a sheet of paper, and I work a seller's net sheet. And I gotta tell you, a lot of them said, and that's the moment where it clicks for them.
What builds more trust? Like I know that the moment you have a spreadsheet or a PDF, you don't understand all of the assumptions that make the numbers come out, and you have to work backwards. But when you work through the math with someone in person, you naturally take on the role of a teacher, right? And then we've got to account for this. Do you know what that is? And they get to ask questions along the way. They have time to process. It's a very different, this is not about what you do. What you do is a seller net sheet.
But that's it.
How you do it is the client experience.
Yeah, and that's, the functionary can hand someone PDF. The fiduciary, though, sits down and actually illustrates it and then talks through it. There's a moment there. Anything else stand out to you here, Jay?
No, I mean, I think you look at the surveys of what people want in a listing agent, and usually helping them negotiate is like 4 or 5. And I think they underestimate how much work and how much value we deliver here. And you just can't overemphasize how valuable this will be at the beginning of a relationship.
Well, the way you
Like
do.
you have to, this is what you have to sell, your value in advance, because you're just trying to get the listing in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do all of this for you when we get offers.
Well, here's the way the way you position yourself is, I need you to empower me to be able to do what really is going to matter most. What's that? Negotiate the price and terms when people bring us an offer.
Like-
And the way you're going to empower me is you're going to help me fix and repair, declutter, and stage.
Right.
And if you do those things, then you're going to set me free. you're gonna make, now I can do my job, which I can market and I can solicit offers and I can help you negotiate. If you don't help me with those three, I'm not empowered.
Love that.
And now anybody can do this job because there's nothing to do.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I love that. The other one I'm going to point out for you is on number 3, subsection 3, meet milestones on a contingency calendar. So we collected and we saw a couple of different ways to do this. Number one, in some of your states, your escrow company or your title company provides this calendar to all parties. But in the majority of states, we found out they don't, which means the seller or the buyer doesn't ever get an actual calendar showing them exactly when their contingencies expire, when their money is due, when the closing date is. And we saw top agents' best practice. They had created a calendar. They had written on the top, the highest compliment you can give us is referrals, just so you know, here's the way that this is going to go. And they literally had all the dates and they hand it to them. There's something magical about giving somebody a paper calendar for their transaction.
Well, and here's the thing that you're demonstrating, and that is the more physical demonstration,
Yes.
visible demonstration of your competency, the more valuable you become, the more respected you become,
And
right?
Here we
As
go.
you start showing people what you do and how you do it, versus going, yeah, we're gonna look at some houses, I'm gonna help you buy one. Or, yeah, we're gonna get to put home, we're gonna put on MLS, people are gonna make offers, I'll bring them over and we'll sign one, it'd be great, we're gonna close.
Or this line, or you don't have to worry about that. Well, what day does it have? You don't have to worry about that. I'll take care of it. That may feel like you're giving service.
That's bad.
You've completely reduced the service they think they're receiving.
I think that's one of the
Yeah.
challenges. I think that we're secret agents.
You've removed every single burr to make it so smooth that they just assume it's that smooth.
Yeah, because when we sat down with this, to put this together for you, and we literally just started walking through it all, even we looked up and went, hold it just a second. There's a lot that goes into doing this correctly,
Okay.
doing it to at the highest level possible. But here's the challenge. Saying it's one thing, demonstrating it is another. And you should constantly look for ways that you can demonstrate what you do.
Well, I got a text from Tim at Keller Offers.
Hmm.
And he looks up and says, look, when I walk into a listing appointment, I'm bringing 3 or 4 offers with me on that day
Oh,
to
right.
demonstrate my ability to create multiple offers. There's a million different ways to do it.
Yeah.
But if you know what you're doing, but you're not communicating it, you lose.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Timeout. So Keller Offers is a good example. Those guys have put together a really good program. And they did it based upon their success in Arizona. Yeah. And yeah, the ability to try to get, not saying it's a great offer, but the ability to go walk in the door with an unsolicited offer and say, I just want to demonstrate that I've already started working on your behalf.
And
And here's what the market has said on the front end.
Speaking of artifacts of your service, got a question from our friend Lance. Are they gonna get these slides?
absolutely. So you'll be able to go into Connect, but there's 2 connects, as you know, because we're migrating. This is the Connect that you get to via command. So when you go into the command, this is the Connect in the upper left-hand corner. Click on it, and then in the search bar, type in value, and the slides will pop up.
Wow.
Closing the sale. This, by the way, I
Let's
gotta
close.
just jump into it. There were 2 groups on this one too.
Yeah.
And we can go through all these, but the last one is the one which is one group never goes to closing. And the other group says that going to the closing is the single most powerful moment of the transaction.
I get it. I really do. I mean, I understand the need for proficiency and efficiency.
I'm going to the closing. And I'm gonna sit there during that hour as we bask in the excitement of the new, and I'm gonna have the culmination of the experience. It's
Yeah,
powerful.
whoever is the direct agent working for the seller or the buyer directly should be at the closing.
What someone said, I don't remember exactly who it was. It might have been Sarah, but someone said, can you imagine? And by the way, some of you are thinking, well, in our state, it's not always done. It doesn't mean it can't be done. She said, can you imagine if the buyer's agent or the seller's agent shows up, but you didn't? Meaning you're representing the seller and the buyer and their agent shows up.
You're answering questions for both parties.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing again is that we're not only always being a fiduciary, and a fiduciary would show up, by the way. But secondly, you're always demonstrating this circle of trust to earn the right for them to recommend you. Yes,
That's exactly right.
and use you again.
We also saw,
Be a fiduciary. Behave as if it's your house. Would you show up at your closing?
yes.
If you were buying it,
Yes.
then what the
And
hell,
it's
show
true.
up. I'm
99,
sorry.
90 times out of 100, you don't have anything to do. That's not why you're there.
No, that's the art.
Yes.
Because you can certainly look like you're doing something. They pass you the paper. Oh, it's got
You
my
know
ink
what?
on it.
It's like missing your kid's birthday. Well, I mean, it's just a birthday.
It's just another day.
It's just another day. This is a party. This is a party. This is, and this, right?
What do
this
they
is-
get to do it?
This is when you show up. This is like you won the Super Bowl. This is you show up to the after party.
They get to do it 3 or 4 times in their life. Buy a house, sell a house.
Man, it's a big deal.
It's
Take a few minutes and breathe.
100%.
It's a big deal.
Another opportunity I'll throw out here, like if you go and analyze all the reviews for real estate agents on whatever platform you're looking at, about 40% of them are not going to be the agent.
Mhm.
It's going to be the contract to close manager. So like how we manage this process to keep the deal together and the amount of communication and hand holding that goes through here is often, it's at the end. It's the thing that they remember. So don't underestimate, even if some of those tasks are being handled by someone on the team, how they do it matters. And that constant communication. Let's look at the calendar and talk about what's next. Let me tell
Here's
you what
what's
to
next.
expect there.
Here's what you can expect from me. That's
Yeah,
exactly right.
It's huge as you move through this process.
And number 4, number 3, where it says prep seller to move, the word pack. So we interviewed an agent who literally their one of their value buckets is they keep the largest empty box collection you could imagine in their garage. They got every size, and everyone knows they can come and they can use the boxes for free.
Mm.
And this person had so much success being the box person in their community that they had to move from a 2-car garage to 3. And it's one of their number 1 pieces of value. My guess is you'll be meeting her at MegaCamp. I saw the garage. You can't imagine.
I can.
It's awesome.
No, I can't. It's what service looks like.
It's so good.
It's what service looks like. And the physical demonstration of service. And in her case, she chose boxes.
So simple.
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so simple.
But genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could actually go in your backyard and just plant plants. And then you're the plant person. When you sell someone a house, you just do cuttings and bring them over and say, here's this, here's this, here's this, there's this, here's the pots, blah, blah. I mean, whatever. I mean, I'm just saying that there's a million different things you could do that would bring value or appreciation, where people would look up and go, wow, you're really engaged. You really care.
So the reason that we broke this down into core services was there seemed to be some confusion on the difference between the customer experience and what I do, which now brings us here.
Right. And the reason we went so deep in that is we're encouraging you to really don't skip it, don't condense things. And then we close the sale. And then we market the property.
That's right. That's a
Like
great way
you're
to say that.
underselling yourself,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
a
why
great
we
way to
went
say
there.
it. Thank you.
Now, what you do is one thing, how you do it, we've hit on a few notes, is really important as well. Like how you appear at the bottom, how you act, how you communicate and interact. What we know is one of the moments of truth is when things go wrong. So how you show up, are you calm and collected, or are you cursing on your cell phone in the corner? Like, are you inspiring more trust and confidence or less? So on a simple level, like you being a professional in these moments of truth matters a ton. And then there's the special sauce. Like, are we doing this in a different way to make them feel really special?
Well, what was the line you used? Said, we closed, but it was a nightmare, which we've all heard before.
Yeah.
And so it's not a question of did you close? It was how did you appear? How did you act? How did you communicate? Because here's the thing, if we don't nail these 3 things, there is no reviews, there is no referrals. There would be no reason for them.
Yeah.
And that becomes a challenge. So,
Surprise and delight is that on steroids, basically.
and here's how we got to surprise and delight. And here was, I think, our surprise. And I don't know if it was so delightful, which was when we collected what everyone was doing, there was an over-index on surprise and delight
There was.
and a wild under-index on core services.
That's right.
Why do you think that happened?
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you.
We didn't know.
We didn't really know. For some reason, people had gotten into the surprise and delight.
At the cost almost of the core service.
Yes, when you said, what did you do? They said, we gave them boxes.
So
We gave gifts.
I've got a theory. I've got a theory. Like a lot of our real estate salespeople, when they go through that, that's one of their happiest moments in the transaction. They get to look forward to it. They know it's coming. So like, I think that that's a moment of truth for them in the transaction. It's like, oh man, I can't wait for this moment when I get to do the thing. That's like the surprise party that they know they have planned. But like that, yes, do that, but not at the expense of making sure they get everything that you've given them in the core services. That's my theory, is that it is so much fun. That's the first thing that comes out of their mouth.
Well, and I think here's
A good thing.
And here's the key. The reason you see this red box here is that surprise and delight, it isn't just to surprise and delight. It's because it delivers the 3 R's: reviews, ratings, and referrals.
That's right.
So what we'd like you to do is think about all the surprise and delight that you're using with your people now and ask the question, is it resulting in the reviews, ratings, and referrals that you'd like to be having? Because if it isn't, number one, it might not be as surprising and as delightful as you think. Or number two, there might be another way to do it that gets you those 3 things.
Well, let's be real clear that when we did that survey, everybody in the room had multiple examples of surprise and delight.
Yeah.
So let's be real clear about one thing that we definitely understood, and that is they absolutely looked for moments and then punctuated that moment with something that was delightful or surprising, that was memorable.
Mhm.
And so I think there was a little over indexing on it. But on the other hand, they were real clear how important that was
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm
to
talking,
being memorable.
and memorable's the word.
Yeah.
Because I'm talking to everyone out there who's doing it as a matter of course. The cutting board you give might not be memorable. Here's how you know. Are you getting the reviews, ratings, and referrals you want? Because it's possible you're closing gifts or the trinkets and trash that we all love to give out. We're doing all of these things. But what you give has to come back.
You know, it's really interesting. Just a simple little example is Ben over at Nordstrom's, right? The
Sure.
manager.
He's the best.
He's the best. But what's fun is that I can buy clothes from anywhere.
Mhm.
And Ben Taylor will,
Help you put them together.
he'll take them up.
Taylor.
Yeah, he'll tailor them.
In the same day.
Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah,
incredible?
yeah. I buy pants online or anywhere. I can bring them in and they'll do it.
You know what I love about
And they're
working
not
with
their
them?
pants.
And what are you doing about that right now? You're talking about it. Because it's surprising and it's above and beyond, and that creates word of mouth. That has a huge benefit.
I like when I walk into Nordstrom and he comes all the way and meets me and he shakes my hand as if like the celebrity has arrived in the store. But he doesn't wait for me to come to him.
He's
He comes
good.
running out and he says,
He's
Jason,
good.
it makes you feel great.
He's good. Yeah. And you were impressed because he knew who I was.
But when he said, do you know Gary Keller? I was like, I may know him.
Yeah. But you know, the reason why he knows me is because he's so good. He's kind of like the go-to guy that I go to for either myself or other guys, for gifts or whatever. And I just go to Ben. Ben, this is what I'm looking for. And oh, by the way, I surprise and delight him back.
No, we did, yeah. Well, I know this is true because when I went right before family reunion, I said, I love this coat. He said, you can't have that. Gary got that. And so we didn't want us to look the same. He was thinking about us on stage.
That's too funny.
Yeah,
That's
the
great.
best.
But we can look this up.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
who wore
he
it.
probably said it because you look better
Then
than
we
me
get
on
to who
stage.
wore it
You
better.
look better than me today. I can't let you upstage Gary, so that's not gonna work.
So now let's switch gears and get into kind of how we charge for all of this. And these are big ideas, but once you've determined your core services, your customer experience, and how you intend to surprise and delight, now you have to start thinking about how you're going to be compensated.
That's right.
Broadly, there are 2 ways to present your value and charge for it: bundling and unbundling.
There you go.
Bundling is where you take all the value you provide and this is important, the outcomes you achieve and charge one amount or percentage for it.
That's right.
Unbundling is where you separate the services you provide or separate the outcomes you deliver and charge an amount or percentage for each one. Here's the challenge. When you try to break this up on the seller side and go with an unbundled model, you realize that fiduciary representation is critical from the very beginning all the way through to the very end, So how do you start picking and choosing?
I think it's extremely hard.
Well,
It's really, really hard to unbundle, for sellers.
you unbundle only because
Because there's not a natural breaking point. That's a challenge.
I think whenever you say, there's one price, what are the two words that often, when you say all of this for
One low
blank-
price.
Yeah, low price. And so I think, like, I usually challenge people, I think full service often does lend itself to the bundled. Like, I'm a full service. I want to help serve you from beginning to end. But we need to challenge ourselves to be able to break down the services and outcomes we create. And if we had to, we are consistently and transparently charging what would be fair value for that service along the way.
I think a
'Cause we
lot of,
always get that.
yeah, I think a
I
lot of
just need
agents,
you to do X.
yeah, I'm sorry. I think a lot of agents are unbundling, as it relates to sellers. They just didn't realize they were unbundling.
How so?
Well, we're gonna do it. You're
Show
gonna
the
walk it through
slide.
the example.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the slides.
Okay, this is bundling.
Yeah, here's my price.
I charge blank. Here's unbundled. And you think this happened natural?
Well, I think it happens now. I was doing that back in 1979.
I was busy being born, as we discussed on multiple occasions. But I guess that's right. But most of the time it was bundling based on how the buyer found the real estate.
Yeah, well, that's the
That's the natural.
it's a natural way, and because that's what they're asking you to do.
The fourth one's always been there. Well, I'm selling, but if you also buy with me, of course, that's a different, I'm willing to.
Yeah, I charge
differently.
blank if you bring the buyer. I charge blank if I bring the buyer. I charge blank if someone else brings the buyer. I charge blank if you buy an additional property through me. I charge blank for this bundle of services, right? I charge blank for the first bundle of services plus these additional services, right?
So here's how we saw it show up. We saw it show up a couple of different ways. The most common way was in a menu of services.
Yeah.
Where you had listing agents who had said, I'll do this bunch, call it my silver program, and this bunch is my gold program, and this one here, this is my platinum program.
This is like, we ended up kind of saying, like, if you were gonna take this, and I'll tell people, like, we're getting to about the halfway point in the presentation, so we could maybe after this, do a quick bathroom break so everybody gets it.
Okay.
But if, like, great, they're doing it. If you think about. here
Look
are all
at
the
this
things I do.
technology, Jay.
I know, but remember, they're gonna punch in.
Okay, I'm gonna leave you a little bit of room then.
Yeah, yep. There we go. Here are all the things that we do to consult you to a great decision. Here are all the things that we do to market your property. If you thought about each of these and you were to assign a price, you could then say, like, here would be the unbundled value and here would be the bundled value. When you do this exercise and you think it through, you realize a lot of times that what you're bundling for does represent a value.
Yeah.
And there are times when someone just says, I just really actually only need this. And you can be a full fiduciary there and you charge people fairly, no matter where they came from. But this would be like the worksheet I would work through with my team. I'd take those slides, I would work through it. I would start assigning value for those services. Because think about Heather Payne. How much could she charge for just the first two steps
Oh my gosh.
of what she does to prepare a home for market?
That's
my
so
gosh,
good.
so
That's so good.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right, as you go through this, by the way, I love that. And then if you're gonna do the silver, the bronze, silver, gold, or the silver, gold, platinum, what the percentages show when you actually start to study it is that companies that do this at scale try to get 46%, give or take, to choose the highest price package. Then the second group is gonna choose the middle. It turns out very rarely is the lower end services chosen.
I don't ever order a small coffee at Starbucks. I start with a grande and occasionally at family reunion, I get the venti.
There you
But
go.
that's 20 ounces. So that's a lot of bathroom
You're
breaks.
serious, man.
Oh, yeah.
So I gotta, hang on, everybody, I gotta get back in to share my screen here.
Yep.
Okay, there we are. So that's bundling and unbundling.
Yeah, I think you need to think about it. It's an exercise to go through both. I was gonna suggest we're 90 minutes into it. We have Jen who might want to jump in too. Why don't we take 10 minutes so everybody can take a quick, have a quick
Okay, great.
second? And then we'll come back. So it is 1:35 Central Time. Let's come back at 1:45 and we will get right back to the races. And just so you know, cooperative compensation's next. You don't want to miss a minute of it. So
Okay,
don't
I'm
get
excited.
lost- Don't get lost in
I
your.
can't wait. I'm not leaving.
All right.
I bet. I bet. All right, everybody, have a great.
Okay, hold the
Laura, oh. Hello, hello. Laura, what? Tell her hello. Hello.
You can put a work order.
right now.
Hello. Hello.
There is.
It is. It was sent via email and it's also in the calendar.
Yeah,
Let me go see if I can grab Laura.
The calendar, the Zoom link. Because last minute we decided to do a Zoom to send it. Your phone? Do you want me to call you? Okay. That was a mistake. I was not supposed to click on anything. Yes. Right after. It is. It's super good. I was paying attention. Hello, hello. Christopher, fix it. Hi. I'm doing the raffle, but you guys can fix it yourself. Yes. We're gonna continue to do. Yeah, we. Say yes. Right? We're just oh shoot, I didn't do it. Oh yeah, it's recording. See? Thank you for being here. I think we can start this. It's gonna be a while. But we don't have. I don't know how long. Hello. Okay. Wait. Are they ready? I thought she said it was ready. was it? I think that was. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, ask him. Yeah, ask him. Like instead of the time because. You're like, wow. Julie, I think you need to do it. You were like, okay, I got it. Yeah. Hello, everybody. All right.
I'm Laura Lowe, founder with Friends here, and sorry I missed your talk earlier, but we won't go too long, because we only have 2 more hours. I'm Laura Castro Audrey, so. Did I read? Yeah, and now you don't have to worry about like, waiting for someone else. Actually, no.
Hold on. Couple number 2, if you're not here, it's not like that. You everybody. All of you. All right. 30 seconds.
I said 5. She said 30.
Well, 5 seems little too clear. Run. Run.
I got everybody in bed.
Okay. I'm gonna let you choose the prize. I will let them choose the prize from the 3 things we got. I said 30 seconds.
Oh, I don't know. Is that 30 seconds?
Right. Choose the 1 or 2. 1 prize or 2 prizes. That's up to you. All right, are you ready, guys? If not in the room, I'm sorry. We'll move on. All right. William Smith. 3, 2, 1, gone. All right. What do you want? I'm going to show you what we got. We have an open house package, includes the flag, the sign, the folders, everything. Or a $100 gift card for Stino if you want to go drink. Or, what's it called? Hold on a minute.
Exactly what to say. There's scripts. And that one?
Take a picture. Take a picture of. Are you Robert? We're gonna do another one. It's Michael's money, so let's give it away. Bam. All right. Oh, oh. All right. Where is he?
He's not in the room. He's not in the
If
room.
he's not in the room, 3, 2. All right, what do you want? We have an opening. Okay. All right, guys, we're gonna have one last raffle at the end. So if you leave, can't have it. Oh.
We are back, folks. Hope you had a fantastic break. You know,
Talk about purpose, guys.
trending in the YP community, the Facebook group, they saw the arm out of the side.
Yeah.
What do we got here?
This is an 1800s wrestling dummy.
Really?
Yeah,
How do you?
I saw it in a shop. It didn't cost much money, and I went, okay, that's weird.
It's
But
got
I've
weight
never
to it.
seen it. Oh, it's really heavy.
It's really heavy.
It's a wrestling dummy,
Yeah.
but it also could be a dancing partner.
It could-
It also. So sorry.
We had to address it because the questions were coming in. We are joined by the one and only Jen Davis. Jen, how are you?
I am great. How are you?
Fantastic. So you've been sitting back. You helped us author this. You've worked through it with us. What are your thoughts from the first half?
As the leader of MAPS, our coaching company, if people don't know Jen, she leads our coaching company, so she has access to the best coaching minds in the industry.
It's interesting because, you know, I actually watched the first version of this, and then watching it again today, I took totally separate notes, right? So I've got different takeaways today, even than I had two weeks ago whenever that was. I think when I'm listening to it, there's so much that we get right in this, right? And when we're looking from a coaching standpoint, our coaches are looking up and saying, do our clients need help with the mechanics, which is the bundling and unbundling of services and communicating and articulating their value? Or do they need help with their mindset, right? So we're looking up from a coaching perspective and saying, where do we stand from our coaching clients? Is it the mechanic part of it, or is it the mindset part of it? And I think what this course does, what Value² is doing, is it's helping us slow it down to help articulate those mechanics.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Mindset versus mechanics.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And someone texted you, I believe, that said, this feels like the old school quote unquote value.
Yeah, it was someone who's been in the industry
Yeah.
for 28 years, and he found it very encouraging. He goes like, oh, we're just going back to all the old fundamentals.
Yes. Yeah, this is a football.
This is a football.
This is a football. Yeah, welcome to your industry.
Andrew Bloom texted, he said, going to a closing is a rites of passage.
Yes, good friend.
I think that's right.
That's it.
So Jen, as you're listening to this, because at the end of this, we're going to want people to go take action. As you're listening to it, what's the action that you'd like to see everybody go take?
I think it's the clarifying question to ask yourself as an agent, right? Would I pay for my services? Would I pay for how I show up right now? And if yes, awesome. Document it, right? Gary often says document to duplicate. Build a system around it. Are we articulating it? If the answer is no, okay, then now we know that answer too. And then let's slow it down. Let's build in that value so that we can create that presentation. So I think you simply have to understand, where are you right now? Either which way is fine. Even if you're in the space of the functionary, okay, let's take item one and how do we move you from the functionary space to the fiduciary space? And then let's do it on item two. I think there's a tactical approach to this, so it doesn't feel like you're constantly in overwhelm.
Amen.
I think that
Well
sounds great.
said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and by the way, if you don't have a coach to work through all of this, because I think people are gonna sit down and they're gonna look at their business and they're gonna analyze their core value. They're gonna analyze their customer experience and they're gonna start trying to augment these
I hope,
things.
I hope,
That's our hope.
I hope. I
Well, the
hope.
coach gives you perspective, right? My coach always reminds me, it's hard to read the label from inside the box.
It's good.
And so, like, if I'm looking at my bundle of services and I know all the things I intend to do, but may not be expressing, like I see the words post MLS and I know the 50 steps.
Mm.
Your coach can look at it and say, what's the big deal?
Mm.
Like, they give you that perspective is always the gift I get from mine.
Cool,
I
love it,
think
Jen.
It's the mirror, right? They're holding up the mirror for you and saying, is this really what it is? And I taught a class with Monica Reynolds this morning. Actually, Monica's in Springfield today. And she was talking about auditing the process. And her suggestion was you actually role play something 30 to 40 times, not role playing like we're talking about simply conversations. Role playing what your value is. How do you demonstrate it? Role playing, walking through that seller presentation or buyer presentation. And I think that's that step that we sometimes miss, right? We look at, we've got a role model, then we need to role play it, then we need to real play it. I think that's what the coach can help you do, is step in and audit. Let's see how good your value proposition really is. Is it really unique? Are you really articulating it the way that you intend to?
Love it. Love it. All right, Jen, thanks. Everybody, if you
Thank you,
are
Jen.
looking for more Jen, come hang out with us at Spring Masterminds next month. It is gonna
We
be a
will be there.
blast. I'm gonna be there. Jen, you're gonna be there.
I'm going to be there. We're excited.
Can't miss. All right, thank you. All right, let's get us back into our slide deck here.
One more.
And hang on, bear with us.
There you go.
There we go. So everyone relax. Take a beat. We're gonna talk cooperative compensation. It's not the end of the world. Sit back and just listen. Jay?
So first off, like we addressed this yesterday, is cooperative compensation still available?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yes, it's just how we communicate it that matters now according to the NAR rules. So what is it? The premise of cooperative compensation is an agreement between the listing broker and seller to incentivize cooperating brokers to write offers and reward an accepted offer on the property.
Yeah.
Right? It's just out there to do that. If offered, cooperative compensation will be paid either by the listing broker or the seller. That's often dependent on where you are, right? The local rules and regulations. Now, we say this again and again. It is not required by law or practice or by KWRI. Cooperative compensation must be openly discussed with the seller and approved in writing. We added those words to this course, in writing, before it is offered. If approved, the amount of the offer is fully negotiable. I would say, like, whatever their decision is, we want them to document it and be informed of what that decision means for them in the selling of their home.
100%. And the truth is, I'm gonna say a responsible conversation around cooperative compensation begins with the value of a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
Why would a seller care?
Can I just back up and make one other statement?
Sure.
And that is, the only thing that's changed in this settlement with NAR is that cooperative compensation can be offered as a concession by the seller to the buyer through MLS. Outside of MLS, it is cooperative compensation. That's the name of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Inside MLS, it's a concession. It's an amount of money the seller has set aside and agreed to pay the buyer, for which the buyer can use for any reason.
And one of those reasons could be to play a buyer's agent.
100%.
Yep.
That's exactly right. So cooperative compensation, this idea that money is available to pay a cooperating agent has not gone away.
No, and let's be clear. This idea of I have a piece of property to sell and I'm willing to compensate you if you may have a buyer that wants to have it, goes all the way back to the 1800s.
Yep, that's right.
But
It's not a new idea.
it's not a new idea. What we should talk about, and what's often missed, is a seller having an understanding of why they want a buyer's agent even involved in the transaction.
That's where our minds went.
This is one of the biggest ahas that people say from this class is when they're sitting down with the seller, they haven't always systematically sold the value of having a buyer represented on the other side.
Well, in absence of understanding the value, I see it as simply a fee.
Yes.
And so the next two slides we built for you so that you could put them into your listing package to explain why buyer's agent.
Yeah. We were able, like in like a few hours, to come up with 13, what we felt like mostly unique values to the seller of having a buyer be represented.
Well, walk us
I
through it.
guarantee you we missed some.
Yeah,
Yeah.
walk us through it.
So the seller and listing agent will work with a buyer's agent that has been fingerprinted and undergone background checks. I have now know that not every state does fingerprints like Texas does,
That's right.
but almost all of them, I haven't heard of an exception that does background checks. The whole reason is these are people who are allowed to go into people's homes when they're not there.
Yes.
There's a certain amount of security that comes with knowing it's a licensed realtor, and we know who it was, and we can track them down, and your home and all of your possessions are safeguarded as a result.
Sure. The next one here, the buyer's agent will serve as an intermediary. This gives the seller the best chance of reaching agreement and closing. A buyer's agent can work with a listing agent to problem solve and help bridge differences. Friends, how many times has a third party that can show up that has done this before and can help with rationality, bring parties together?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, third-party intermediaries is a real thing,
Because it's so highly emotional for the
Yes.
two people involved in the
a
transaction.
real thing.
Next one, the buyer's agents will work to safeguard the seller's home during showings. Because ultimately they're there and responsible.
That's right. And this is kind of underlines, like, we maybe should add it. Like, the buyers get to have a fiduciary represent them, right? They're there to put everyone's interest, the client's interest above their own. They're going to safeguard it. It's just a whole other level of taking responsibility. They're assuming responsibility along the way.
The next one here, Gary, is so important because anyone can write an offer, but not everybody can perform on the offer they write.
Well, yeah, so the buyer agent is gonna work to try to make sure that there's a qualified buyer making the offer. That's right.
By the way, if you skip that step and you're a seller,
Not a problem.
you got a problem.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody's worked with the buyer, this next one, who they get the accepted contract, and what do? They go off and start putting furniture on their credit card,
Oh.
right? That's why we have all those conversations. All right,
Oh my
between now
gosh.
and closing,
It
I
is-
need you to just hand me your credit card.
It's a rite of passage.
Yes.
You're a real estate agent when you've had a buyer say, we're so excited, we just got a new car and a boat.
Yes.
And you're going, what?
What?
You now don't qualify.
Yeah.
I don't?
You didn't
No,
say
we
that.
talked about it. No, we
That's what they-
talked about
Of
this.
course, but they always say that. You didn't mention it.
I had it
And
happen.
the stories of people, like,
You
you
did.
heard a story
yeah.
of someone calling like a Tesla dealership and saying, I need you to allow them to return this right now, and negotiating on the buyer's behalf to get them back into qualified state.
Yeah, the challenge is that so much of what we do, from marriage counselor to financial advisor, right, to psychiatrist, you can't really say it that way.
No.
But it all gets back to that being that intermediary and a fiduciary, and not a disinterested third party, but a third party that sits outside of the emotions, right, and the everyday thinking that's going on between buyers and sellers in their lives.
Well, and these relationships burn so bright during the transaction. Like you become family if you do this right. You know everything going on. You're talking 10 times a day. Like this is a dynamic relationship.
Well, this is a list that your seller hasn't thought through, right? Safeguarding it during showings, ensuring that they're qualified, making sure that they have the money and it's verified. They don't think about that, right?
That last one's good. I mean, you talked about the home tours. Like, real professional buyer's agents can give you valuable feedback on the price and condition of your home. I get people who say, oh, everybody tells me I should write a book. And my first question is, and what qualified them to tell you that? Were they a book editor? Like, do they know that? But like, a lot of people have opinions about your home. These are qualified opinions about what will make it sell better.
I'm getting text messages from buyer's agents that are saying, I feel so seen right now, and yes, please tell your seller I do this. It'd be so much easier if your seller knew what I did. Buyer's agents are loving it right now. Where available, the buyer's agent will use the promulgated forms, and in some states, we know it's not there, but Jay, this protects all parties.
Yeah. When where they're available, we always recommend starting there. They're the most proven, they're least likely to create further litigation, protects everybody.
This next one's an important one because, I've gotten a bunch of emails over the last, 72 hours that say different things, but there is something about working with people who subscribe to the same code of ethics that you do.
Well,
Yes.
there you go.
And it's a big deal.
Yeah, that's right.
How we show up and how we've agreed to treat each other through the merits of our association matter. The buyer's agent is likely to be properly insured, which depending on if, gosh forbid, something happens.
You're talking about,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we all have
You're dealing with
stories.
you're dealing with a professional who should have proper insurance.
To me, that goes with 11. I know we'll go back to 10. Like, they're also going to recommend professionals like bonded contractors that also protect the transaction because they're actually professionals.
The buyer's agent will provide a list of professional vendors to choose from. I mean, not all home inspectors are created equal.
Right.
Not all vendors are created equal. And the buyer, I skipped 10, I want to go back. The buyer's agent will advise the buyer to write an offer that reflects current market conditions. We may have put this one in bold.
Yeah.
Like, that matters if I'm a seller.
Yeah, what you're talking about to the seller is, when a professional is involved on the other end, it brings within barriers, if you will, guardrails, a more predictable experience.
Yes.
And that's what we're looking for. What we don't want is unpredictable. And because unpredictable will spell disaster. And without a doubt, at some point in every transaction, the buyer's going to have second thoughts.
Mhm.
They are.
Well, it's so common that you've named it, buyer's remorse. Like, that's an actual thing.
It is. It's a very real thing. It's going to happen, either big time or small time. It will happen. The other side is that they don't do this on a regular basis. So if you were dealing with a buyer that didn't have representation, they wouldn't even know the process. They wouldn't know all the things the first thing they'd say is, well, what do I do now?
Right.
Well, where do I go to get that?
Well, does that really
Well,
matter?
does it really matter? And who would I get to do that? And understand that you have the agent over here saying, like you mentioned, vendors, number 11, you have the agent over there going, we need to make sure that the work is done well, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Because the seller looks up and says, well, what happens if they end up blowing it and don't close? And I understand they spent money, but it's a crappy job and I can't live with that. Now that I've gotten the house back or whatever. Yeah. It's little things, and they just don't, if you don't spell it out.
Why would they know?
And they wouldn't.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know. And they're good, and they think it's just easy.
That's it. We keep coming back to this idea.
Mhm.
But if
Because
you
we
don't-
make it look easy.
And if you don't explain the value, look, if the value you give determines the value you get, but you don't explain the value, why are you surprised you'd get less?
Well, again, I mean, look, I used the example before I go to the dentist, it kind of looks easy. I mean, no offense, but they shoot me in the mouth with something, it's dead, and they open it up, put a stretcher in there.
Oh my gosh.
Hit it, turn it on and go zzz.
I've never
And then
had,
go and they're cleaning my teeth or whatever. Oh, this ain't hard.
I've never had a cavity.
Really?
Ever.
Wow.
You?
I've had a few.
That's-
I got a million.
I'm the winner. So I can't relate to that. But yes, it does look easy.
Did you have to wear braces?
Twice, because I didn't
Never
wear
had
the
to wear
retainer.
braces.
And my mom
I'll
put
take
them,
cavities.
my mom put them back on the second time during Thanksgiving vacation.
Yeah.
To teach me a lesson. I couldn't eat Thanksgiving that year.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, you
wow.
deserve it.
It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Horrible.
The buyer's agent will guide the buyer through all the steps of inspection to closing.
I think that our experienced agents here could come up with 13 reasons just under that. Getting, like all the buyer's
that's what I
remorse
was
just
talking
in an
about.
inspection report.
They don't know.
Did they know when and they should get homeowners insurance
They
and
don't
all the
know.
things they have to do for it
No,
to close?
They don't know. They think they know, they have a sense of it.
Yeah.
They don't actually know, and they don't know what to do. They don't know where to do it or who to get to do it. Yeah, and by the way, they're gonna always use the cheapest bidder. I mean, they're not, you're not even sure of the quality of whatever it is that they're fixing to go do. You don't know.
Aren't those the
Just don't
two,
know.
the two universal?
And it'll blow a transaction.
Yep.
Everybody wants good value and everybody would like to pay less for it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because if you just take the less and forget about the first part, which is good value, you could end up blowing up a deal.
Look, guys, I had a great real estate agent in Colorado. And we had a small condo that we had owned for years. We were renting it out. We wanted to trade up to something from one area to another. So we put in a contract. Seemed like the perfect property for us, right? Price was right, everything was good. And we loved the way it was furnished, all furnishings conveyed.
It's great.
Great. So we get to, so now you know what's fixing to happen, right? So all of a sudden the seller got horsey, right? And started saying, well, we didn't mean that. We didn't mean that. And they started picking significant things out.
Oh, like we didn't mean the couch. We didn't mean the living room
So
table.
what happens is, so what happens is that, we said, no go. Either it all stays or we're blowing it. And they thought we were kidding. And we walked.
Yeah.
We were so mad, and we got a better property anyway. We had a great agent, by the way.
Yes.
But we walked, and I guarantee you, they probably sat there with their mouths open going, what just happened? Yes, in the wrong market, your buyer walked on you.
I think that's exactly right. And the last one here, the buyer's agent can provide feedback to the seller regarding the price and condition that ultimately will help them sell their home. The buyer's agent worked tirelessly to maintain their creditworthiness. We just had someone text us that they lost a deal because somebody financed a puppy. A $3,000
Oh, wow.
puppy that they got to finance. They lost their home they were moving to have the yard. That actually just got texted in.
Wow.
So
That's the first for
no
me.
financed puppies is the lesson there. So tell you what, so that's what you love about the real estate business, because you're looking up and saying, I didn't even know you could finance a puppy. You can. So here's the key here, friends. The idea that we're submitting is that if you,
When in your presentation to the seller, you should bring up, there's this idea called cooperative compensation. In the past, actually, it was me making the decision, because here's what I'm going to charge. And then I'm going to take a portion of what I charge and I'm going to pay it to the other agent. So it was me making the decision. Today, with the way that the DOJ has asked us to change the industry, it's now you and the buyer doing this, not the agents. So I need to share why I always thought it was important and why I thought it mattered.
well,
When I want to walk you through what a buyer agent is actually going to do and why it matters to us.
I think it's an important slide. I
Yeah.
really do.
That's a conversation, by the way.
That's the first one, and then we get to the second part. So there's what the buyer's agent does, and then also what it does to help you maximize the demand for your property.
Okay, so walk me through this.
So like we all kind of know, when demand's up and supply's down, what happens to prices? They tend to go up.
They go up,
Right.
There's less of these things.
Right. Supply, I mean, this is basic economics 101. When demand is down, supply's up, prices tend to fall.
Because there's more of them.
Yep.
Okay.
And so when you think about an individual seller, like the only exception I've found for this is that I'm a builder and I've got a whole subdivision. I have no control over supply. We try to play with it. We try to say this is a one of a kind property, because in some ways it is. There's only one in that unique location, but there's probably comps that buyers are looking at by comparison. So we can't control supply. We can't control demand. And cooperative compensation ensures that the maximum number of buyers is potentially going to make a home on your offer. And we go into this, but like how many buyers, first-time home buyers, early move-ups, VA buyers are counting on that in order for them to work with a professional. So if you agree in the professional part, why would you eliminate potentially 4 out of 10 buyers from bidding on your home? Because they might not be able to afford that out of pocket.
And there
That's
is,
just now a decision you get to make.
and there is a logic string for it, which we're gonna talk about in the next slide. The challenge with supply and demand is that an individual seller can't directly impact the supply, like you said.
Yeah.
So they're left only being able to influence demand. And the number one thing that they can do is the price.
Yes.
But other than the price, there are some other things they can do.
Let's run through it.
They can make sure that the property is in good condition. They can make all the repairs. They can make strategic improvements. They can give better curb appeal. They can, and number three was one that you were really passionate about. They can present the home in a way that makes it appeal to the most number of buyers through staging, photos, and property description. That's our tool.
100%.
They can leverage the MLS, and they could consider offering cooperative compensation.
Yep.
So let's get in.
So here's a funny story. Back early in my real estate days, I sold a home to buyers from out of state, from upper New York. They were coming down with IBM. And we looked everywhere. They had big dogs, another dog store, big dogs. So they needed yard, right? I couldn't find anything in their price range remotely in the Austin area. Ended up in Georgetown.
Hey,
Okay.
the hike.
Yeah, but yeah. It's 20 minutes or whatever drive up the road, right? In no traffic. Yeah. But it had lots of land. The price, everything was good, right? And they bought it. And we put it under contract. And then they asked me would I take pictures of it in order to show it to them, right? Because they couldn't remember what it looked like even,
Why
right?
did you go on Zillow?
Right.
So
So,
good.
yeah. So anyway, so I had my little Polaroid camera. I took some shots and sent it to them. And I get back this phone call. Where'd the telephone pole come from?
Oh, wow. They hadn't noticed the telephone pole.
A giant pole, man.
And they hadn't seen it.
No. And then, by the way, I have to convince them it's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
but not convince them, but we have to walk through. Just remember, this is why you're buying this one,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
That's that example of the buyer's remorse.
Yeah, I think I've done a really good job of presenting the house in its best possible way.
You sold it back.
Yeah.
So as we get into it now, the seller has some choices to make.
Yep.
And
That's
Gary,
right.
There's three.
Well, yeah, you only have three choices. That's right. You can authorize it, don't authorize it, but be willing to consider it. Don't authorize it, and don't consider it.
Yeah.
That's the seller's choices. I'm not gonna, I
Yes,
authorize
maybe,
it.
and no.
Yes, maybe, and no, I'm not doing it.
When we started the conversation, it sounded more complicated than this.
I know.
But at the end of the day, it's just these three
No, it's
choices.
just these three. And the interesting thing again is, don't authorize it and not consider it will never happen. Why? Because all buyers are going to ask for their compensation amount to be given as a concession in the contract, just like they do now.
Yeah.
They're gonna fill in a blank,
Perhaps.
right, around concession, and they're gonna ask for a dollar amount of which they're going to turn around and use to pay their agent, the way it's always been done. So this is going to happen.
The key here is that when you discuss the seller's choices, you're not suggesting that cooperative compensation must be offered.
No,
Right.
no. You have choices.
And you must disclose and state in conspicuous language in the listing agreement that all broker commissions and offers around cooperative compensation are 100% negotiable and they are not set by law.
Well,
They're choices.
yeah, and you should always be discussing that. You should always be saying, just like with you and I, this is all negotiable. It's all about what you're gonna net.
The interesting thing about these choices is the psychology of the seller, we should remind everybody, is always the same. They want to net the most money for their house.
With the least amount of hassles.
Yes.
In the shortest amount of time.
Yes, so they all think about these things different and they think these are tools to all do the same thing.
When they view the buyer agent compensation as a fee, they're focused on, I want to net the most. What they don't realize is the hassles and the time that could cost them far more money.
Let's go through it one at a time. So there's this group that says, Jay, I want to authorize.
Yeah. But they're like indexing. I mean, the language here is like, I want to generate the widest possible pool of buyers that bring me the best price and terms with the least amount of hassle. When you maximize exposure to qualified buyers, like that's what you want. That's where multiple offers come from. That's where your best odds to get that come from. I accept the potential risk that I could be offering more compensation than the buyers agreed to pay the buyer's agent because I want to attract the largest pool of buyers. So if you offer a compensation, say I'm offering X% to the person who brings the winning offer, or as an X amount as a concession on the MLS, like maybe it's less than they negotiate on the other side. So that's the risk of this one when I'm authorizing a set amount up front.
Just remember that the buyer agent can't collect the difference.
Correct.
That's right.
If they've offered,
Blank.
well, I'll pick a number. They've offered $20,000 and the buyer agent has agreed to do it for 18.
That's, again, they get the 18 and the buyer gets the additional 2. If it's a concession, to pay for prepaid or closing costs or
That's
whatever.
exactly right.
The reason that we made these slides like this is so that you could look up, and here's what we want you to be doing. What's your view on cooperative compensation? Because although this is the seller's choice, it's okay for you to have thoughts and to have opinions around how you want to market real estate.
There you go.
So for those of you that say authorize, we think this would be what you're thinking.
And I think it's important to note, like where we get to 40%, it's estimated that as much as 40% of the market would be challenged to pay for a buyer's agent out of pocket. We're talking about, I think it's roughly 34% of all home buyers last year were first-time home buyers.
That's right.
We know that they're very challenged on the cash portion of the sale. You have some move-up buyers, but VA, it's not an option for them currently.
Not yet.
And so like, I don't want to exclude veterans from possibly buying my home, and I would love it if my house is appropriate for first-time home buyers to bid on it as well.
Sure.
Maximize demand.
So then you have the next group. Don't authorize it, but let them make me an offer and I'm willing to consider it. This is the person who looks up and says, I want to keep my options open to paying it or not. I accept the potential risk of exposing my property to a smaller pool of buyers because some buyers, like you just mentioned, who need it, they might not ask for it and simply assume that I'm not willing to pay.
That's right.
Additionally, I accept the potential risk that if a buyer doesn't have representation, I encounter more hassles and more delays. And the reason would be because of those 13 points that we laid out earlier.
That's right.
I'd have to believe and be willing to take the risk.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you have the last group. Gary, I'm not authorizing it. And I'm not going to consider it.
Yeah, I'm unwilling to pay it. I accept the potential risk of exposing my property to the smallest pool of buyers because a buyer who needs it may not make an offer. And I get that. And additionally, I accept the potential risks if a buyer doesn't have representation of having more hassles for some interested buyers and more delays.
And there might be.
I'm willing to accept all of that for whatever reason. I think I've got the property of all properties and.
But that's it. There could be a reasonable reason for it.
I go to when my dad was running a medical sales company, and he would take out doctors. He had a nice expense account to take the best doctors in the world out. I got to sit at a table as a grad student with him at a restaurant in New York.
Okay.
And I had to dress up for it. And I remember sitting down and looking at the menu, and I turned to my dad and I said, Dad, there's no prices on this menu. And my dad laughed and he goes, if you have to know what the price is, you can't afford to be here. And I think that at a certain high-end exclusive, like I know that when I was teaching in Colorado, a certain part of it, they don't start with talking about financing. They start with the assumption that people are paying cash. That's the people that they're dealing with in that area.
Yeah.
So I can see a seller saying, look, if you can afford to buy my house, you can afford to pay for that agent. I'm not excluding anybody that could actually buy my house.
Or if it's a one-of-a-kind piece of property. Like, I know we all like to say, one-of-a-kind, chef's kitchen. But like, if it's really one-of-a-kind.
Yeah.
Those are potentials.
As
There
if
aren't that many of those.
No.
Yeah.
No, although you own a couple. But there's not that. many.
Timing was good.
The timing was good.
Yeah.
Here's what I want you
I
to.
bought it when they were cheap.
I want you to remember that every seller, because they have the same golden net, all three of these tactics are part of their strategy. So one seller might look up and say, I'm going to net the most amount of money simply because I'm going to expose it to the largest pool. Someone else might look up and say, I'm going to net the most amount of money because I'm going to pay the least amount in fees. And somebody else might look up and say, I'm going to net the most amount of money because I'm going to make it as exclusive an opportunity as possible. No one's wrong. What's important to remember is you should have an opinion and it's the seller's choice.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Essential conversations, like when you're going through this, what are these, Jason?
You need to make sure that the listing agreement discloses in conspicuous language that stands out and is clearly visible, which I know is a little redundant, but bear with us, that the seller acknowledges that commissions are not set by law and are fully negotiable. You're gonna be saying it a lot, although it's always been that way. In addition, you must obtain written approval from your seller to offer cooperative compensation. If your seller decides against making an offer of cooperation, compensation, it's recommended that you document that decision as well.
You bet.
Your local market centers and your ALCs need to work together on this to make sure that all the rules are clear.
I can imagine a form where you explain the three basic choices and saying, which ones are you wanting to do? I just need you to initial that decision. And that way, when I'm negotiating, I will be armed with this decision and you can always tell me you want to reconsider it. Like, I can imagine that form showing up in front of me and I'd be like, sounds totally reasonable. Let's make it.
You know, in life, everything is negotiable, nothing's negotiable.
It's good.
I mean, that's just true.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter the position you take. The buyer will have a say in this if you want to sell.
Yeah, I think that that's right. I also think that it's impossible to ask somebody to make a decision without explaining the pros and cons.
Well,
That's the point.
I believe, again, that was the point in this lawsuit, the transparency, that the real estate industry, if it was any challenge, has been fully explaining choices and options to sellers and buyers. Right.
With this, equipped with this, they're going to make an informed decision. The fiduciary in you is going to help them make an informed, great decision for their selling needs.
I want to remind everybody again, the settlement that NAR agreed to did not address what you charge.
Not at all.
Now, the press has, in media, have misrepresented, fully misrepresented what has happened. They did not address it. They make a presumption that you're a functionary and that by changing the rules that somehow compensation changes. The only thing I've ever heard from people that are afraid is because they don't know how to convey their value because they've never really done it.
Hence the course.
And taking enough time. I mean, honestly, you should go back, take this course and set aside a half a day again, now that you've gone through it, and answer the questions. And for the fun of it, get 4 or 5. You can't share all your answers with each other, but if you're in the same brokerage organization, you can.
Yeah.
You can. If you're in the same brokerage organization, you can talk openly. You cannot outside of that room.
Right.
Let's just remember that. So getting together and simply just talking about, how do you present value here and how do you surprise and delight there? And how are you explaining that? It's all fair game. You can talk about it and take the time to think it through.
Yes.
And then run your business. Don't just show up and wing it.
No,
Which is way too many people do that, which is how you got labeled a functionary. And then it was presumed by the press that, compensation will change.
Yep.
I still scratch my head as to why people think it automatically changes, fellas.
It doesn't.
Not for me. It would.
The work is the work and the value of that work.
The work
has been determined for a long time.
Yeah, the work's the work. Yeah. I'm irreplaceable.
Well, that's the media for you. They're predicting everything. And it turns out they can't even predict the weather. They don't ever get that right. They got the NC2A tournament, they've done terrible. And now they're going to tell you how many units are going to sell and at what price. It's insane.
That's just clickbait.
Okay. Here's a quick aha. For those of you that are commercial friends that might be representing landlords, like a lot of this actually is very familiar to you in the commercial world. We also know that some of our residential friends out there working in markets, so you're primarily dealing with landlords and leases. Use the same standards for expressing your service, even if the services might be slightly different for landlords over sellers, and definitely over-index on transparency. Like it's someday we may get together and write the full course for leasing and landlords, but like right now, it's just substituting a few services here and there. The main ideas work the same way.
That's right.
Love that. All right, gang. That was sellers, and then how we talk about compensation. We are delving into buyers, and we're doing it in the same format. Jay, the number 1, 2, and 3 things that buyers want.
Okay, they want the right property that meets their timing needs and get it at the best price with the fewest amount of hassles. And so, like we always talk about the wants and needs conversation, right? We need to, when we do that, maybe up for debate, But our job is to help them to get the right property with the least amount of hassles at the best price and terms. Not that, like, has that changed?
Can I tell you a story?
Yes.
So again, one of the first.
This is like the funnest part of this. It's like, let me tell you about the really big dog story.
So,
Like it's generating a lot of real estate stories that are fun.
Yeah, well, we all have them. We all have them. The one of the first homes that I sold in my first year was Steve and Denise Sockler. And met Steve through the Junior Chamber of Commerce, right? And he was in the banking business. Anyway, they were engaged to be married. And we started talking and I said, well, I mean, we need to start. How come? Well, because I mean, there's never a bad time. I mean, you need to start.
Yeah.
You know, if you found the right property now, it might not be there later. So we start now and we just keep looking until we find it, right? So they said, okay. And so I sat down, I pre-qualified them. I figured out what, checked it with my mortgage lender and I felt pretty comfortable about it. Anyway, so we met on a Saturday morning. I had nothing to show them. Because their criteria, they want to be in inner city, they wanted an older home, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing for sale. There's nothing there. I'm getting ready to sit down, explain to them there's nothing there, and I'm gonna go show them homes out in.
Yeah, you want a unicorn, we're gonna get you a zebra.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I'm fixing to drive you 10 minutes out of the city over here, right? Anyway, so we sat down and before I could tell them that nothing existed, they said, oh, we're so excited. We went driving last night in an area that, and we saw a for sale sign. How much is it? And I went, you found a for sale sign? I looked, it's not there, right? It's not in the papers, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have computers, right? So I said, let's just drive over. So we drove over. Oh my gosh, it was so cute. Corner lot, beautiful. I mean, perfect remodel job, right? And I'm going, no freaking way, right? So I said, okay, stay in the car. I'm gonna go up and knock on the door. So I went, knocked on the door, step back. One shows up in a row with two kids that are at her feet. And remember, it's 8 a.m. on Saturday morning,
Right.
right? And she's looking at me like, and I step back and I said, hi, I'm in real estate business. I have a young couple getting married. We're looking for a home. Your home looks fabulous. Did it just come on the market? She said, yes, yesterday. Yeah. And I went, wow, that would explain that. Is there a chance that, can you mind me asking what you're asking, right? And she named the price. I went, oh my God, that's the price. I mean, that was at the limit of what they could afford. I went, wow. I said, ma'am, can I see in the house? Because if it looks inside like it does outside, these people are going to want to buy it. She said, no, you can't come in. And I went, oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's Saturday morning. We're having breakfast, right?
Yeah.
Can you come back at like 10 o'clock? And I went, absolutely. And we went out and sat. And Steve and Denise go, what are we doing? I said, we're making sure no one else shows up and tries to run into that house without us. I said, we're going to sit here.
We're
right?
guarding it.
We're guarding it, right? So at 10 o'clock, I came back and knocked on, I said, stay here. Went back, knocked on the door. She said, come right on in. I walked through and I'm like, God, this is, I'd buy this. This is unbelievable. It's like the house, right? I came back and I went, I think you're going to like this. Let's go look. So anyway, they went through it. We get into the living room. We've done the circle around. We're in the living room, fixing to pass back out. And Denise turns to Steve and squeezes him on the arm and says, I think, honey, this is just the first one we've seen.
Yes, that happens.
It happens. And I went, sit down. And I pulled out of my blue blazer jacket. I did wear one in the day. I pulled it out and I had their wants and their needs. I had gone through the whole thing. What do you want? What do you have to have? And I walked them through it. I said, this house has everything that you need and everything that you wanted. And it is the price you can afford. And I now need to tell you something. If you walk out of here, you will never have another shot at anything like this. Because I didn't tell you. I have nothing to show you. There's nothing on the market. This is it. And the next couple that comes in, most likely will be more prepared than you. And they'll make a decision and that will be it. And you will regret it the rest of your life. We're not leaving here without making an offer.
Wow. Did they buy it?
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. But I'm only saying this because they would have walked out.
Yes.
They would have stupidly walked right and the seller would have let them. What are they going to say? No, it's perfect for you. Don't leave. You need to buy this. We're scared that no one else will love it. No, they'd have let them walk right out, get in the car, drive around,
Sure.
think about it, right? And I know this for a fact because the first house that I wanted to buy, I thought about it for a week. Every day at lunch, I would take a break and go and sit in front of this vacant house going, wow. Because it was right at my price range that I could afford, in the 30s, by the way. And on the 5th day, it had a soul sign.
You missed it.
Oh, totally. Just sat there for 5 days thinking about it.
Yeah.
And that was it. There wasn't anything else I would have considered. I ended up buying a condo. And
It
it
was
was
a
fine, but
good lesson early, because now what I've seen you, when you see something you want,
you make the offer.
you make
You
the offer.
don't leave. Yeah. But buyers don't fully appreciate the fact of what we do to help them.
We have to talk about it. Yeah.
Mhm.
And we're gonna-
But had I not done the wants and needs, I would not have been in a position to say, what's the argument?
Yep.
Well, why would you walk? Well, we just want to see other things. There is nothing else.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into that in a second as we get into, because by the way, you can get.
Services.
In the core services, the first step is gonna be understanding. But we wanted to take you on a second on a little journey through buyer's agency, only because it's a relatively new idea.
What?
But you would think it's been going on forever.
It's not a new idea.
Relatively speaking, new idea. Here's what happened. In '83, the Federal Trade Commission released a study, and the study said that 71% of home buyers assumed that sub-agents for the seller were actually working on their behalf, largely because they were the one physically showing them the property. So I want you to think about this for a second. This is before buyer's agency. And you called up and somebody met you at the house, and then they turned the key and they opened it up and you walked inside. And instantly, the person that was being shown just assumed they're representing me.
Yeah.
They're asking me my questions.
sense.
They're telling me how great the house
But
is,
they weren't.
and they weren't.
That's right.
So the Real Estate Buyers Agents Council, which by the way, was nothing more than a bunch of real estate agents, was self-founded. Your industry has always been self-correcting in 1988. And it was built for the sole reason to advocate for buyers to have their own representation. They worked together with the FTC. It was a great example of the industry coming together with a regulating authority. And lo and behold, in 91 and then finally in 92, the buyer's agent became a thing. Now you have buyer's agency. And buyer's agency is nothing more than a written contract between the buyer and the agent that outlines the details of their working relationship.
Right.
As these new rules, if they get approved and they go into effect in July, this document will need to be signed before you show any real estate.
That's right.
It will also have to have multiple provisions in them. One of them will be that it needs to spell out exactly the amount of compensation you're getting, either a direct dollar amount or a percentage. It cannot be open-ended. Number two, that amount of money that you've agreed to,
There you go. You were actually getting ahead right there.
I'm doing it from memory, but here you go. So we got to make sure that we use and we disclose in conspicuous language, and it stands out that the buyer acknowledges that there's no standard commission rates.
Mhm.
We've talked about that today. This could cover whether or not it's an exclusive buyer's agreement or a non-exclusive buyer's agreement.
Right.
It could cover one house that you're showing, it could cover several homes, or it could cover all the homes.
A period of time.
We need to make sure that the buyer can pay directly for your services at closing. We need to make sure that the seller or seller's brokers, they can pay at the time of closing. We have to explain the opportunities and challenges of cooperative compensation.
Right.
We also have to explain the opportunity for seller concession. One of the keys here, though, as you go about it, is to make sure that they are 100% crystal clear that all commissions are negotiable.
I think the thing I would say that's
That's
not
good.
spelled out here is, even if it's not being conspicuously offered as a concession or off the market, we can always write it into our offer if that's the home for you,
Yes.
right? That's always an option for us.
That's right.
So if the seller or listing broker is paying you via cooperative compensation, you must never imply that your services are free. I don't know why you wouldn't, but
That's been an NAR policy forever.
the only exception is to saying that your services are free is if you are actually not receiving compensation for the transaction. And we know real estate agents sometimes work pro bono just to help people. Matter of fact, I think you help people all of the time with no expectation of pay. But you can never imply that your services are free just because somebody else might not be paying.
That's right. Or they're getting financed or however it is. But like, there's a reason that this is in conspicuous red language with a box around it. Because
So
this is
good.
like a big no-no, folks. You're not gonna do this.
So as we get into this, we talk very clearly that there's only a handful of possibilities that can happen, Jay.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm gonna fill out this buyer's representation agreement, and we're going to agree on a number or a percentage.
That's right, and it's gotta be spelled out in writing.
Yes. And that if the seller is offering cooperative compensation, or if there is a concession involved, one of the possibilities, it will be equal to the number that we've spelled out.
Great, not much to do there.
The other possibility is that it will be less.
I know, now what do? Do we write an offer where we ask them for more? Do we work it out personally?
Do they simply just bring a check?
Yeah.
The other possibility is that it's more. And it's in that case where the real estate agent cannot receive anything in excess than what they agreed to
That's right.
when they signed the buyer's representation
Yeah,
agreement.
that's right.
People have asked us
There's
like,
a reason
what
why.
kind of creative language can we use? Can we say the
You
greater,
can't.
like, there
You
isn't
can't, you
anything.
can't, because the reason they put it in there is they want that now the seller is determining what the buyer agent gets. And what they want is they want the buyer to determine what the buyer agent gets.
That's
So
right.
if you could get the excess, then in essence, the seller's determining it. That makes sense?
Perfect sense.
Yeah, that's why you can't get it. Because if you could, it would undo what they were trying to accomplish in the settlement.
Well, this is this open-ended idea. I'll take whatever they'll be willing to pay. And those days are not here anymore.
No, and you
Come
should-
July.
No, you shouldn't do that anyway, which puts you in the situation where you need to know your value.
And how to articulate it.
Well, if you slow down and invest the time, they'll understand your value.
We thought about buyer core services the same way that we did with seller services. Remember, this is
That's right.
exactly what it is that you do. There were 5 predominant buckets. The first one was consulting to the decision. Then we had, and then we had finding the house. And we're going to show you why we delineated those two things as separate. You then have negotiating the contract and of course, closing the sale. And we're reminding you once again, here's what happens next. And here's what you can expect from me, might be the most powerful sentences in real estate.
That's right. The exercise is the same. As we go through these, be asking, what do I do here? How do I do it? Is there anything that I do special? And get really clear that when you explain it, you're not just glossing over stuff. The whole point here is it's the value you give determines the value you get. It actually might be the value you give and clearly communicate is what you get.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they're not seeing the full value, not because we're not delivering it, because we're not communicating it. So that's the purpose of this. It's not exhaustive. I guarantee you can find it places that we miss things that you do incredibly well, but you need to be noting them for your value proposition.
Yeah, one of the things you ought to notice is in this course, in the way we presented it, we never mentioned lawsuits or settlements or anything like that. Nor do we go through and try to explain what was settled and not settled and agreed upon. We don't do that.
No, we did
We
that
should-
yesterday.
Yeah, well, because everyone wants to know what was agreed upon.
Sure.
Right.
But this course, by the way, was written by people who know what happened and what you can and can't do. And so we wrote a course respecting and making sure that we clearly in our suggestions, we clearly represented what the settlement intended to have happen
Well, much of it was
without bringing it up.
much of it was written before there were any settlements.
Well, that's true.
That's the key to
Weird,
this.
isn't it? Well, we had to make some changes.
Yeah.
Very few.
Yeah, well, we
But
had
we
to make a
worked for
couple of
almost 2
adjustments.
months to get ahead of this.
Yeah.
How many years have you been telling everyone to use a buyer's representation agreement?
It's been if you go back and looked at video.
11 years with me at least.
Yeah, if you went back and looked at videotape, it's been during the vision speech, it is one of those spots where I stop and I get like an old school marm and I wag a finger and I go, this is upsetting. This is wrong. You're only about 20 to 25% of the transactions have a buyer agency agreement. Every transaction should have one. And I'm on the record of having said that for several decades, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like around 40% was the last number that they recorded in their survey, and it's a survey.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right.
come on, like,
Well, remember again, half of those are done after the contract's written. Yeah, so that it,
Allegedly.
okay, I
I'm just
promise
saying.
you,
I'm not saying you're wrong.
the lawsuit would say I'm right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what the verdict would anyway.
yeah, the verdict, yeah. Yeah. It said that, but we understand, and by the way, in the suit, they understood how it was being done. Which means it really wasn't being,
Well, and there's an opportunity there.
in most cases, it wasn't being done the way it should be done, except it was required by the state. If it was required by the state, then that's a different issue. Short of that,
And here's the opportunity, in order to get somebody to sign on the line that is dotted, to allow you to represent them, either on one home or on many homes, you're going to have to explain some value.
well, and here's the thing that should make everyone feel great, and that is there are states that have been requiring this. And when you talk to those agents that work in those states, they look at all this and go, "Psh, we got this. We've always had to have a buyer agency agreement signed at the earliest point in the conversation, always. And we know exactly how to explain our value, and we know exactly how to get."
We have another focus group with a group of agents
So
from
we have-
3 states.
So we have 2 more classes coming up.
Yeah, and we have another focus group this week with agents from the 3 states that required it. And you know what was funny? When we sent out the invite, they wrote back, "What's the big deal?" They literally didn't even understand why we wanted to meet with them. I can't wait. It's Friday. It's gonna be great. All right, so consulting to a decision. The goal of this stage is for you and the buyer to reach agreement and set expectations. Both of those things have to happen.
That's right.
You'll have accomplished this when you align your service. Listen to this, everyone. You'll know you accomplished this when you align your services and the compensation you deserve with their wants and needs to create the result they seek. We rewrote it, rewrote it. This sentence says a ton.
Yeah, it does. And you just walk through this process. You're gonna sit down, you're gonna have strategy, explain your process. Like where this happens now, like in our market, it might be on the curb because there's one listing available, like the one that you described, and we have to have this conversation in action. Or it might be happening in your office during a full consultation. Whenever it happens, you're gonna walk through here, and one of the decisions, like, are you pre-qualified? Before we trouble the seller, like that's one of our value propositions to sellers, is that we're working with buyers that are actually qualified to buy the home they're looking at.
And I do, as we go through, we pick our favorites here. I just want to say pre-qualifying the buyer, I mentioned it earlier, but when you can sit with a calculator like Gary did and collect everybody's, he literally took me through the entire thing I would do with the loan executive. But he did it. And then at the end of it, he said, now let's confirm with the loan executive and I'll check their work. And I would think, and oh my gosh, that's who you want representing you when you buy a house.
Yeah.
That blew me away. And by the way, I was never taught how to do that.
Well, what I was trying to demonstrate is it's the real estate business. You need to understand real estate.
It's fiduciary.
Yeah, and that means you need to be a quasi loan officer. It means you need to be a quasi title officer. It means you need to be a quasi home builder.
Appraiser, inspector.
Yes, you need to have enough information and knowledge about that you can be knowledgeable and bring value ahead of having to go hire the professional. You can serve as a filter, as a pre-work that brings real value to all of that and comfort to the people that you're working with. And what's crazy is people say, "No, I don't do that. I just set an appointment with the loan officer. I don't do anything. They just tell me what they can afford." Oh, no. I don't go to the inspection because I let the inspector handle that. No, I don't go to the closing. I let someone else do that. And you go, well, what the deuce do you do? Oh, I unlock the door and I write a contract. And you go, okay, great, got it.
Functionary.
Got it, functionary. I got it, man. You're of immense value here.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're not as valuable as you want to be and that you deserve to be.
We saw one conversation framework where the agent actually says, you don't want to tell me anything about your finances. That's between you and your bank.
What?
You just let me know.
Why would you say that to someone?
Your head's
It's
spun.
the opposite. My head's spinning. I'm going, no, tell me everything, damn it.
Yes.
I want to know everything. I actually want to see, your stubs.
Yeah.
If you're an independent contractor, bring them. Let's
Because
look at it, bring it all together, put it in there. Let's talk about it.
I love that.
If you were, here's a pad, write down your debts. The
Right.
amount, the payment, and how much time you have left.
And you may help counsel them through all of that.
You are going to, by the way, because remember, you're the fiduciary. You're the fiduciary, and your goal is actually to hold a mortgage company accountable to do their job.
Did y'all hear that? That's
Yeah.
a different way of thinking about it.
Yeah, of course it is. That's my job. My job is to make sure the mortgage company does their job. And I'm not saying that in some onerous way, like dumb mortgage people. No, they're brilliant people. I didn't say that at all. I'm saying I'm the fiduciary. I'm the adult in the room. I'm not tied to any property you buy. I'm not tied to any of that.
But you're very clear at the value that mortgage officer is delivering and what exactly the client should know when they walk out the door. You're very clear. Like, you need to know these things. You should know if one of the debts I could pay off quickly, and it changes the whole calculus for you.
Well, I'm on the call with,
That's consulting.
I was always on the call with Scott. That was my loan officer. I was always on the call when we set that up. We had him on speakerphone, right? If he could come by, he came by. Because I'm asking questions also.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, what are the choices? Well, what would if they did this? Well, what if they did that? Right? And I'm asking, right?
You're their advocate in that moment.
I promise you the reason why I was successful is I came out at age 22, a hell of an advocate.
Rebecca just texted, 21 years ago, I attended the buyer council class that Gary taught, and he said the exact same thing then.
Oh, that's scary.
You haven't changed much.
That's scary. Well, I am older.
So good.
So don't show any pictures of back then.
Okay, so you have this consult to the decision. You're gonna work through these steps. Remember, your assignment here is to go through this after this course and figure these things out. How are you gonna show up as the fiduciary here? Now, we broke search for properties, and the goal of this stage is to uncover as many properties as possible. We broke it into two sections, the active agent and the passive agent. We're not saying one is right and one is wrong, so nobody get upset and just breathe through this. But the passive agent, they simply wait for the buyer to call and request a showing. They're assuming that the buyer is using any number of aggregators that are out there. Maybe they set up an MLS search, maybe they didn't. Maybe they're going to wait for them to drive by the right house. Maybe they aren't. They know their buyers out there looking at open houses and they're hoping for a call. Friends, I'll tell you this. If you're going to try to explain your value as a passive agent when it comes to searching for properties, I believe you are lost. One of the foundational places to show your value and get paid what you deserve on a higher end on the fiduciary side is to be an active agent. Because remember, buyers across the board say the number one thing they want is help finding the right property.
And I think it's not just help finding it. I think it's help selecting it. Like we said earlier, there's no shortage of information on available properties out there. What they aren't equipped to do is synthesize all that information and narrow down to the choices that make sense to them. That's where our value shows up.
100%. But so in order to do that, which is the kind of finding the right house, I got to search. So what you see here, on market MLS auto searches, on market open houses, houses that agent help find, direct phone calls to agents, private network, searching FSBOs, new construction, TCPA compliant calls outgoing to find the right property, knocking on doors. Our friend Richard Stone would say, if you're not knocking on doors, I don't know what you're doing for a living.
Yeah.
Direct mail, social media. I'm starting to see ads, house wanted, and then describing it.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is going to be to show the value.
Number 5, don't miss that. Like, that's the gold letter campaign. You've got buyers. You could be mass mailing whole neighborhoods saying, I have buyers interested in this area. Would you be willing to sell? It generates listings and it finds the right properties for your clients.
Yes, and I'm double clicking this slide. I'd like you all to draw a star on it. You need to be able to define how you help people search for homes. End of story.
Yep.
Yes.
And then if you're lucky, and if you do that, Jay, they're going to find one.
Yep.
And it's in that moment that we have to show up and we have to narrow down all the available options to the right property. And this is, look, if we have one house, we got to take them through a process to understand, like you just said, with your wants and needs.
Here's all your wants and needs out of my blue blazer or whatever I'm wearing. Let's make sure, like, are these, and let's rank them, right? So that we're looking at them in the right order. We all know that there is some magic to that process. If you know the one they're supposed to, actually, they should make an offer on. You gonna wait till the 8th house to show it to them? No.
100%
right.
Then running CMAs. I'm watching Joy in our office right now work with a seller to discuss pricing. They got in the car and she drove and they looked at the houses that were available.
This is your competition.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's a fiduciary way to do a CMA, and of course, there's a functionary way. Especially nowadays, where you simply push a few buttons on the MLS and it pumps you out a report. That might not get you where you want to go.
I give you some advice right here, and that is put the seller in the car. And
That's what he just said Joy did.
That's what-
Let's go look through the buyer's
That's what
eye.
she does.
no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's to me, it's the answer for that.
Yes, and then, of course, prepare and write the offer or set the next appointment. Remember, every conversation ends with here's what's happened next, and here's what you can expect from me. Jay, now we got to negotiate a deal.
That's right. I mean, this is where you're trying to get them at the final end of the day, the best price and terms. And there's a lot of things that are going to be going on. You got your initial offer. You've got all the due diligence where your offer may be amended throughout it. This is one of those things where there's the art of it as well. You have the science and the art, and this is where great real estate agents stand out again and again. How you negotiate repairs, how you keep them involved throughout the process.
Absolutely. And again, if all of these things are happening, but you're not describing them, it gets taken for granted and no one even knows they happen.
You can even describe them and say, but you know what? We got lucky this time. We don't have to do that step. Just to show that you're tracking all the things that you don't have to do.
Absolutely right. And now we get into closing the sale, and just with sellers, it's almost the exact same goal. And again, going to the closing seems to be the easiest way to change the experience.
Yes.
So you get through here, Gary, you're now back because how you do it didn't change.
No, it's the same thing.
It's still going to be about how you appear, how you act, how you communicate and interact. These things come together to have an impression that's formed about you.
Yeah, and what we're asking and suggesting is you take a moment and slow down and ask yourself these three questions at all of these moments of truth. That's all we're suggesting that you do.
In the last few years, the buyer experience has been a roller coaster, especially low
Oh,
inventory.
of course.
So this is like underline it, underscore it, whatever you have to do, like how we show up for them in these moments of truth matters so much to how they experience them.
You know, our buddy Jeff Glover is so passionate about these three things. If you go listen to his MREA episode, he says that you have to handwrite. He handwrites everyone on his team their presentation once a day for 30 days. Then you chant it by yourself once a day for 30 days. Then you role play it with someone else once a day for 30 days because he's not willing to let how you appear, how you act, and how you interact be taken for granted.
No, that's exactly right. Our industry is about having knowledge, demonstrating that knowledge, and then using that knowledge in a way that helps people make great decisions that are best for them.
Yep.
So if you don't practice, if you don't think through what you're going, and remember, ours is fundamentally a job of words in the end, taking all of that and conveying it through words. So if you don't know, I mean, that's not what a dentist does.
No.
It's not a business of words.
No, because you can't respond to them. Those are such one-way conversations.
Yeah, I'm picking on dentists today, aren't I? Okay, next class I'll pick on someone else.
But that's what Phil said. Phil says that Phil Jones, and we're hanging out with him this week. It should be fun.
Yep.
He says nobody buys a home. People buy a home because all of these reasons. And he says that the art of helping people is to move them into action faster with you than without you, simply by the words you say.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's value.
It is, but you have to practice those words.
Yes.
You do. And the reason is because you don't want the first time you hear people talk a certain way to be when they talk that way. That needs to be the second or third or 30th or 90th time because you've thought about all of that.
Well,
it's predictable.
Yes.
I mean, their objections or challenges or problems are predictable.
There's only a
Can
handful.
we sell it and lease back for a month? We got a moving problem, right?
What was the old adage? There's only 22 objections, quote unquote, from people that are moving because they all fall into these buckets.
Yep.
And Phil says that all of these moments are the moments that matter, but the worst time to think of something to say is in the moment.
Yeah. So Tim Leggett, we both started our careers together in real estate. And so every morning we met for 30, 40 minutes or whatever, 45 minutes. And we role played. We did exactly what Jen Davis was talking about, right? And the way we did it was, we would sit down and it would start with, Tim, why don't you buy it?
No.
Yes, that's exactly right. And Tim would go, no. You know, and I'd say, well, obviously you have a reason for feeling that way. Do you mind sharing with me what it is?
And you just play.
And then he would but that was a standard, you know, and then he would give me a reason why he didn't want to buy that house or whatever. Or, Tim, are we ready to sign the agreement, the listing agreement to get started on marketing your home?
No.
No.
It's Simon
We're
Sinek's
awesome.
new book, Start with No.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
No,
No, but it's.
Yeah.
I start with no.
But I mean, obviously I have to read through them. Obviously you have a reason for feeling that way. Do you mind sharing with me what it is?
I love that.
And it's just it comes out very natural for me because, you know, obviously, Jason, you have a reason for feeling that way. Do you mind telling me what that is? Yeah, I don't like this or I don't like that. So then, by the way, you isolate the objection. So what you learned to say was, okay, so let me just understand. What you're saying is you don't like blank. So let me ask you a question. If that were resolved, would you feel comfortable going forward with this agreement?
Sure.
Well, in my role playing
He'd
with
say
him,
no?
he would say no.
Good old
And I
Tim.
would say, gosh, I must have missed something. Is there a reason why you're still saying no?
There's also this, and he's just gonna make you work for
That's
it.
exactly right.
Yeah.
And he would go and blah, blah, blah. By the time I got to a real seller, they were putty in my hands.
Yeah.
I might have been 22 and lived in an apartment and used a coin operated washer and dryer and drove a beat up yellow Volkswagen that had no heater in it.
Because you practiced harder than you played.
Yeah, I practiced. The game is won in practice, not on the field.
One of the
And
things
most
that you
dumb people think that you learn it in real time.
No.
No, doctors don't do that, dumbass. Professionals don't do that.
One
No,
of the
they
things,
just don't do that. That'd be like saying my kids, the teacher is learning firsthand from my kids in real time instead of practicing and showing up as a professional teacher,
You wouldn't want.
knowing how to deal with Jack.
Right, that's
But-
all I need.
Yeah.
We run that teacher in circles.
Yeah, that I guarantee you rookies. Oh yeah, you could smell the kids smell them coming. I still remember we gave this one teacher hives. We ran her out of teaching. Literally, she resigned. I was in a
the
class. and
substitute teacher,
We were horrible to
Oh.
this person, just horrible. And she ended up quitting.
It's
when
great.
you were demonstrating your role play though, like.
She
one of the
was not
things-
ready for us.
No.
I think everybody has like a 7th or 8th grade memory of that
Oh,
happening,
yeah.
usually to a substitute teacher.
Yeah,
But like you demonstrated even your brief role play, like the first thing that you do, and this goes back all the way at the beginning, trust, like empathy and understanding, is you're repeating back what you've heard. You're starting with not an assumption of what you think they believe. And
That's right.
Just these principles are all fundamentals
they were fun.
and they show up all throughout the process.
Well, they're just respectful, good communication tools. I don't really like the word script.
No.
I don't think that's appropriate for professionals to be scripted.
No, but
Really?
frameworks, conversations. You need to have
Frameworks, connectors,
Sure.
entry points.
Yep.
I believe in those 100%,
Well, you gotta know where you're going.
but you don't need to feel scripted.
No. And by the way, the more you practice it, the less scripted you will feel.
Well,
You'll
because
internalize it.
that's right. And then you customize it.
Remember, there's two ways of convincing somebody of something. You either explain to them why it's good for them, or you remove any reason why they would say no. They both end up with the same yes. And as we go through value, y'all have to make some choices of how you appear, how you act, and how you.
Yeah, don't be afraid that someone's not going to do something. If it's not right for them, that's a great decision, right? What I learned early on was my goal was not to sell someone into doing something. My goal was to help them make the best decision for them.
Right.
If moving forward was the best decision, then it's my job to help them think it through to get there and give them an opportunity to discover that. If it's not the right move for them, it's my job to help them think that through to get to that place where it's not the right deal. Either way, I win.
You've done your job.
I've done my job and I'm gonna get paid at some point, either now or later, for behaving that way.
That's a profession.
That's what a professional is. And there's a lot of compensation angst going on in our industry and it's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
It really is, because what it means is, I don't know my value. I don't understand what I do. That's what you're saying when you say, I don't know if I can get what I deserve. And my response is, you don't have to work with everybody. If someone says they don't want to pay you, you can say, thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Yes,
Good luck. Right?
yes.
Yeah, you don't have to do it. But if you only have one client and you have a house payment coming up because you don't do your lead gen and you don't have a database in command and you're not touching it in meaningful ways and building relationships and delivering value, you get what you deserve. I mean,
It's
I've
a
been in this
trap of your own
business-
creation. Lead
I've been doing
generation
this
is how
for
you get out.
40-something years, and
Yeah.
I've seen it. And the difference, this is the difference, right?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that this moment now is somewhat frustrating because we spend the supermajority of our time not thinking or talking about commission. And then all of a sudden you read all these articles that make it sound like that's the only thing we think about. There's nothing less attractive than commission, Brett.
Listen, this is as hard an industry to get into as any other industry. There is a period, now the licensing isn't. So let's be
No.
clear about that. It tricks you into believing this is gonna be easy. I got in, they let me in. Can you believe it? I've got a license. I'm ready to go.
That gets you into the industry though, not the market.
That's right. That's right.
Why don't you explain that idea?
Well,
It's
no,
a big idea.
you just said it. And that is that, yeah, you can get a license and get into this industry. But this industry is built on a marketplace where there are willing buyers and willing sellers. If you got a license, but you don't have willing buyers and willing sellers, you're not in the marketplace. You're sitting outside looking in. You may have a real estate license, but you're not in the marketplace.
That, when you first.
You gotta
do
bring
that-
buyers and sellers into the marketplace for you to have a career. You can't sit on the outside looking in, watching everybody else play. You gotta get in the game. And it's very hard. This is a very daunting industry for a period of time, particularly if you're brand new to the area or your age is such that you don't have relationships in the community already, right? Either way, right? It's tough to break in because you don't know anybody. You have no mooring lines. You don't know who to talk to, and you're learning the business. You've never lived in the town before, right? But the flip side is if you're in your 40s or 50s and you've lived in this town for 20 years or something, and you raised some kids and you drove every block and street chasing them or dropping them off or picking them up or right, all of those things, and you thought about it and you're very aware of all the challenges of the school districts in the area because you studied all of them before you put your kid in that school, blah, 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 blah. You have a leg up on a 22-year-old that walks in and says, I've been in this town once. I've got a license. Now what the hell do I do?
That's where you started.
That's where I started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to point out,
But I sold 6
both to
houses.
be successful.
Well, I sold 6 houses in my first 30 days.
Yeah.
For a whopping total volume of $220-something thousand.
Each.
No.
No,
Total?
total.
Yeah, 6 houses, total volume, 220-something thousand.
Man, no wonder you had to drive. the
6
Beetle.
transactions.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Yeah. But by the
But
way,
the salmon didn't cost $65.
my rent was $220. I split it with a roommate. It was $110 each. It included utilities and everything. Peanut butter and jelly was cheap. And by the way, the money I made, which was about $2,700, actually lasted me 5 months.
And you were still happy, even though you didn't have all the
I
traffic.
hit all my goals.
Yeah.
Back then, the goal was $18,000 a year, which got me a condo, a brand new car, a dog, Sherwin Vega Tower speakers, and some money left over.
Great life.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
That sounds
it's more
great.
expensive, and I mean, things are different today, but my point is that the pressure you should put on yourself is number one, lead gen. But number two, be in real estate. Know the market, know real estate, know how the transaction works. Go out and meet the vendors, go out and meet the builders, go out but right,
Contact sport.
it's a contact sport.
Yep.
Go out and make contact. And you don't try to sell people things, just become more knowledgeable than everyone else.
There you go.
That's
Work.
value.
Well, again, Jay and I, we talk about this all the time. We wrote The Millionaire Real Estate Agent in about 90 to 100 days.
Yep.
How do you write a book that dense in 90 to 100 days if you don't know what you're talking about and you just sit down and say, I'm going to write a book?
You don't.
You don't. That book was over 10, 15 years in the making.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which means when we got to it, We knew exactly, just like this course. How many surveys and studies did we have to do to write this course?
Not many.
Not many. How come?
We live it.
We live the industry. We know this industry really, really well, a lot more than people think we do.
Right, you got 3 real estate agents.
We get it, man.
Yeah.
We understand it.
All right, cool.
So, surprise and delight, I believe, is next. Yep.
And the key here is the same. If it's surprising and delightful and it doesn't lead you to reviews, ratings, and referrals, it
Mhm.
might not be as delightful as you think.
How do we charge?
Same sort of ideas here. You can bundle and you can unbundle. Now, if you're reading the bottom and you're saying, wait a second, that sure looks a lot like it did on the seller side, it's because it does. The challenge of breaking up the buy side into unbundled services is that its fiduciary representation is critical. Again, from the beginning to the end, we believe that to our core.
I will say this when we get to unbundled, why don't we go ahead and go there and I'll hold it, like bundled pricing, we get this. This is what I help you buy a home. We actually reached out to our attorneys like this week in the wake of the NAR settlement to make sure in our buyer agreements, because it says it has to be explicitly written out as a percentage or a dollar amount
Yes.
in our buyer agreement, that a bundled service, unbundled services could work the same way. So there's a little bit of an asterisk on this one until we get a formal ruling.
And we've also, we addressed it yesterday. We had tons of questions. Can we take a retainer fee? Can we do this? And can we do that? A lot of these decisions are going to be made locally, and we encourage you to go have these discussions with your brokers and your OPs and team leaders.
Yep.
So cool. So representing tenants, similar to
Same thing.
Same
To
thing.
our commercial friends, our friends that work in markets that are primarily leasing, just substitute tenant for buyer. There's not a whole lot that's going to change here.
Speaking about our commercial friends, they're about to have an event at the Greenbrier in West Virginia. And I saw the agenda for it. This thing looks incredible.
Yeah,
Reach out to Cynthia and Alicia if you're a commercial agent.
it's the place to go.
There's a ton of value there.
Yeah, the event's gonna be amazing in the Greenbrier Halls.
And if you haven't been to the Greenbrier, by the way, that's the oldest resort. That's the resort,
Destination resort in America.
the oldest destination resort in America.
Yeah, it's the, one of the golf courses they own, Oakhurst, was the original country club golf course in America.
That's cool.
It's very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. It's very cool. Very, very old though. I mean, it feels old. I
Yeah,
mean, it.
but it's awesome. So
it-
reach
it
out to,
creates dust.
reach out to Cynthia and Alicia if you want to check that out. And let's get into this idea. So friends, you have come all the way to the end here, but this last slide might be one of the most important.
So much of what you've been demonstrating when you tell the story of how you worked and how you trained agents in the very beginning was around this idea of being a fiduciary and ultimately being the irreplaceable real estate resource for your clients for their life. And like everything we talked about, like that value going on, I'm in real estate, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to get knowledge to serve my clients in all of these areas as I go.
Well, I'm a pro and I expected everyone around me to be a pro, Jay.
Yes.
And I didn't discuss it or ask about it. I lived it and I expected it. And it wasn't some sort of a high-minded, high, whatever you call it, pollutant standard or whatever. It was just the standard. This is how we're gonna do it.
You
This is
take
how-
pride in your work. You want to do it well.
You bet.
This is my profession.
Well, you had said if you want to change your identity, start behaving that way. And that's the idea. If you're sitting out there and you're not sure if you're a professional, here's the good news. You can start behaving like one today.
Okay.
So we're focusing on how value is conveyed before and during the transaction.
Right.
But the truth is here, to become a client's real estate agent for life, providing value simply can't stop there. As we move past the transaction, we get to focus on deepening the relationship. And by the way, that goes on forever. Think of it this way. Products, services, and touch programs, they need to be either useful or needed.
Yeah.
If something is useful or needed, it becomes relevant. And if something is relevant, now it's valuable. When you consistently deliver relevance and value, you're on the path to becoming irreplaceable. That's an important word because you want customers for life. And becoming irreplaceable is what creating clients for life is all about. If there's an exercise here, we'd like you to make a list of every single touch that you do after the transaction, your 36 touch program. I want you to go through, write it out, and then start circling the ones that you think are useful or needed. And what you may find, what we found, was that there were fewer and further between than we had hoped they'd be. in the zeal to simply have a touch program, we may have missed making sure that that touch program is relevant and valuable.
Yeah.
I know
As we wrap up, I wanna, let's let them, we would love it.
we gotta
As
do
we
this.
teach this, you've got to give us an evaluation. So take out your camera real quick.
Yes.
Tell us what you like, what we can do better, where the gaps are, so that we can continue
I'm
to
gonna
evolve this
evaluate y'all.
course. There we go.
Jen, Davis, turn your camera on. We're coming to you in a minute, right after we get the evaluation done, please.
Yeah, we need to have our coaching moment if you're still available.
And we are gonna leave this valuation up. We really read these. The key for this is so that we can improve. This course is being taught by the three of us, two more times. And you're encouraged to come to all of them because they're all gonna be a little different.
Yep.
So I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm coming to Jen. Jen,
There we go.
what's your aha from the second part of Value Squared?
I think the aha for me is that when you look at it, I had texted you guys individually that it really steps through kind of that staircase of influence, right? When you look at, we move from a sales position up to trust, and from trust up to professional, and professional up to advisor, and then to a connector. And I thought it's so simple, right? If we will just slow down, it's so simple. It's not easy, but it is simple.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
Amen.
Gary, closing thoughts.
No, she gave the best line at all.
We're not gonna beat that.
No. You be irreplaceable. If there's one word, be irreplaceable. Because when you're irreplaceable, you're invaluable. And again, all the angst in the industry is because people are not feeling valuable. And I look up and I go, wow, you must be replaceable.
Yeah.
And then what you realize is we have way too many people in this industry who have relied upon being functionaries and use this system to get paid like fiduciaries. And the challenge is this is what the lawsuit is over. That's it, real simple. And that is they want us to be fiduciaries and earn what we charge. And that's it. But honestly, underneath it all, that's what they're saying.
That's what I want for us too.
And yes, 100%.
Mhm.
And anyone who is threatened by that,
All
I
right.
don't know what to say.
So if I cut it off
If
now,
you're
will
threatened
anybody be
by
furious?
Now the need to
All right.
prove your worth in a manner that allows you to get what you feel you deserve.
So hopefully you got some things out of this, right? It's not doom and gloom. They gave you some great solutions. We want to step it up to the next level, and we're going to bring in the Houston Properties team to help us on the role play. And you're going to see this is a team that can articulate their point as good as the best agents in the country because they practice this. We're going to see.
See. Does anybody need bathroom breaks? I know we've been in for a while. Do we want to say go meet back here in 5 minutes? Is that cool? All right.
All right. So guys, 5 minutes means 5 minutes, right? You won. What did you win? Awesome. Use that.
And Michael, when do you want to do the last wrap at the end? So they say, we still have one. The Postinos. I let them choose, so they got.
Gabby, did you? No. That's why I'm here. Actually.
Oh, I guess.
I have a question.
We don't need them.
I didn't get a chance to ask.
That's cool. Man.
Well, it sounds a little egotistical.
Yeah, but
There will be a chance to ask some questions. Are we done? I have a very serious
No, so now we're
question to
gonna
ask
need the
if
mic.
I'm missing.
So now Paige is gonna.
The question is, whatever has been suggested, the law has been passed. So to get the audio.
Paige, we need to or not anymore? We can just, okay, so we can.
What we're done with
stop
that
this.
video
Yeah, we can stop this, but continue the Zoom so people on Zoom can hear.
For the property, the way it was taught. It's gonna have an impact. Yeah, I will tell you how.
Yeah, you can stop.
Let's say, in a conventional system, price of the house is. Anymore?
Hmm?
Seller agreed to
No.
pay the
And I need to put a
compensation
message out there.
for the buyer broker, it is 100. In a similar house, which should have
No,
been
we're just
priced
gonna
for 200,000.
stop
seller
it now,
did
but we
not
need
want to
to.
pay buyers.
Continue.
So
Okay.
let's say 3%, it will be 90.
So if I speak with the mic now, the Zoom people will hear? Hello?
They could have heard
So
you.
they can hear now?
They could hear you before, you just couldn't hear it
Okay.
here because the volume was turned down on here.
Guys, for whoever is watching us via Zoom, we're taking a break, 5 minutes or so, and then we'll be back and we're gonna start with Paige. So you guys can take a break too. We'll be back. Okay, so but now, okay, yeah, because we have people in there, in the Zoom. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Chris. Ciao. What did yep, each. And look how much I have. You can send me 100. Look.
This one is modest.
No. Look. Hold on, not that. Look.
payment plan?
Look.
That the buyer agent is supposed to get from buyers. It should be a must that the representation should be signed. Unless you sign it,
Oh,
you
that's
are not even allowed to show the property.
How much you wanna pay?
Lebanese pound.
What?
Lebanese pound.
Not leave it. What?
Lebanese pound, like really bad.
I want $5.
about it.
I'm kidding. I'll just send you what I have.
That's part of the law. Don't be bothered. Drama.
Huh?
I love drama.
Who has drama? I don't like drama. I stay away from
I
drama.
don't like drama. Hi, yes.
Drama is there, I am over there. Hola.
But it was nice to watch in your own space. I'm always here for you.
Joe,
100 times.
you still have I got you.
Ooh, do they smell good? Okay. Come on in.
Does that one work? Yeah, it works.
All right, while we're waiting for people, something we talked about a couple of days ago when we watched the other show that we saw, where are you going to post your commissions? We're not an MLS, but Brandon committed to me that next week we will have the beta of our site specifically to house commissions. Ultimately, I'd like to get all the KWs to use our site in a way that they're not infringing on what they're supposed to do. They'll be able to use it. It'll be a portal that'll take you back to their site, but we're still going to hold on to the customer. So that's step 2 of this. But step 1, by next week, we should have the beta of our site where you will post your properties. It'll list them alphabetically. We want you to be responsible and pull it off when your house sells. But that's where we're going. So we are active on this. We're doing a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. Just know we are not standing idle. We're here to support our agents during this transition. I think I got a lot out of this. This was good. We have the slides. There's 50 pages of slides, so you can go through because there were some real nuggets in there. Any ahas? What's the biggest thing you learned? Anything that for implementing? What we need to change, that's a pretty broad. Say it louder. Be irreplaceable. Are you irreplaceable? Right? Are you offering so much value that without you, the level of service drops? Is the presence, what can I add to my level of service so that the presence of me being there makes me irreplaceable? That's a focusing question. What can you add to the level of service? Well, again, value is kind of, what the heck is value? Well, fiduciary, but there were some specifics, like listing off the specifics of what I'm going to do. Not just saying, I'll take care of it, right? They cover this. You don't just say, I'll take care of it. This is what I'm going to do, and this is when it's going to happen, and being truly transparent. So there was a lot in there. I hope you guys have an opportunity to go through the slides.
Yeah, and they're teaching it 2 more times. We're hosting it here at the office for those 2 next times, April 10th and the 25th. Gary won't be there, so it'll be a little.
Oh my gosh, fast.
But we love it when Gary's around, because if you have the opportunity to sit at the foot of the master, then you probably should take that opportunity. So we're gonna go fast because we want to be respectful of your time. Here's what we're gonna cover. And I'm gonna ask a few questions in a minute, and then I'm gonna hand it to Bob. Bob's got 3 different aspects of where he's going, and then we're gonna throw it to the Property Joes to talk a little bit about what they're doing or seeing different. And then we're here to answer generic questions. Leave when you need to leave. We understand you all have lives and families and clients. And so we get it. We get it.
Do we have one more giveaway? You want to wait on that? Okay. Okay. She knows human nature for agents.
That's amazing. Okay, real quick. I want to know disc profiles. Who are my high Ds? Michael. Okay. I'm sorry, because we're gonna probably get in the weeds for you all a little bit. So who are my high I's? Right. How about my S's? Yes.
Slow and steady.
My C's.
Oi.
All right, cool. Well, we love just kind of knowing what's going on in the room. How many of you are new to the business this year or newer? All right, so y'all, here's the gift you have been given in this thing. You don't have to unlearn anything. This is all just going to be normal business for you guys, which is awesome. How many of you been in the business over 10 years? Okay, so we got some work to do, which is okay. I'm going to give this story and then I'm going to let Bob talk. This is not my own story, but I love it. You know, I live in the Heights and I know how to drive to the office. And I've been driving to the office that way since we moved here, and I always go the same way. In real estate, some of us have been driving to the office the same way. All we've been asked to do now is to take a different route. It's the same office. It's the same thing. It's going to take us a few more steps, but it's still the same.
Paige is like Gandhi.
So as long as we understand that this is not your career goes away and that people are not going to pay you what you're worth, it's important that you listen to those V2 slides and that you have a listing presentation that addresses these items, that you have a buyer's presentation where you are going through and explaining your value to those buyers. Statistically, 98% of agents do not have a buyer's presentation. And we wonder why people were confused on what value we brought, because we didn't tell them, we didn't set the expectations. So all we're doing is just driving a little bit further to the office. Michael has assured us that TAR is on changing forms. I think you're going to see probably some lending changes. So nothing, you've got 4 months to figure this out. This is not a, oh my gosh, the sky is falling tomorrow.
But you need to start.
But you start now. You get 4 months to start now. And if you will do the prep work, this will be a walk in the park. I will tell you, I emotionally expect that this is going to be probably the hardest 8 months of real estate because there's noise. Once we're past the noise and we can worry about who's going to be elected president, they're not going to care about this anymore. And it's going to be out of the news cycle and we'll be on to business as usual. But you're going to have to be willing to talk about money. Right? If you're like me, you were raised where you didn't talk about politics, you didn't talk about religion, and you sure didn't ask somebody what they made. Well, you probably still shouldn't talk about the first 2, but you're going to talk about money. And the sooner we get to that and we get comfortable with it, the easier you will be to be successful. All right, that's it. That's all my hot air.
Well, that's a perfect lead in, because what we had planned was 45 minutes. And for those high I's and high D's, we know that we're going to try to condense this down to 10 minutes. I know Holly over there is not sad. The caveat that we have, so what we're going to give you is we're going to give you 3 of the mindsets that we've been practicing for the last 4 months on this. And we're going to give you 3 of the tools that we've built over the last 4 months that have been the most successful for us. And instead of a half an hour of script practice, you're probably going to get 15 minutes on our most 5 fun tools. And then probably Violet and Paige are going to go through the single most impactful tool that we have for you that has led to what we've done in Q1. So that's what we're going to cover in 10 minutes. Number 1, mindset frameworks. I think as you saw from our presentation before, everything starts with a mindset. Number 1 is do not talk to a new person without talking about money, right? Do not talk to a prospect without talking about money. And that is hard, as Paige said. And the advantage that you have is 2 big things on this. Is 1, if they're not going to pay you, don't go drive them around and show them around. Find that out in the first 10 minutes. And number 2 is be transparent. And so again, number 1 mindset is do not talk to another prospect without having a conversation about money. Scary. Number 2 is before you talk about price, always, always, always talk about value. Again, before you talk about your price and your fee or what you pay to the other side or anything else, always, always, always talk about value. And the only way to start a conversation about value is find out what it is that they value, right? So again, your framework, you have a money conversation, you talk about value before you talk about your fee. And in order to talk about what they care about, you have to understand what it is they value. And the best secret to understand what they value is listen to them and practice dynamic empathy. And for those of you that don't know that specific term, it is as simple as repeating back to them what they said. Right? It is, oh, yep, I heard you, because you've regurgitated it. So those are the 3 mindsets. Talk about money, talk about value before price, and talk about what they care about because you've learned what they care about.
Well, and Gary said that, right? That empathy, that dynamic empathy begins the circle of trust. So that's your first piece.
So here are the tools. I don't have them up to show you, but at least these are the tools that have been the most impactful for us. Number 1 is we created a page of what do you value, right? Easy way to talk about value is we have a page of here's 20 things that most people value. Please circle the ones that are most important to you. Really good, really easy conversation. You can pull it out of the NAR guide. You can pull it out of anything else. And so when somebody tells you what they value, because you've given them a page in your buyer kit, that's where your buyer kit starts, you know exactly how to direct the conversation. So if somebody starts that conversation and says, I care about getting the cheapest real estate agent possible, you can already go back to the end of the line and say, I don't think we're a fit. But what most other people do is they care about value, right? The things of I want to find that right house with the least amount of hassles in the time frame I want. Fantastic. And then you could explore those activities.
So
Bob,
Bob,
can I give you a tactical example?
I love that.
We had this exact experience with Holly and I on a Zoom call on Saturday. We have folks who were referred to us. They live in Scottsdale. We sent the resources, we sent value to begin with. We set up the Zoom call. In advance of the Zoom call, Holly sends them the list and says, do you mind filling this out for us so that we have a place to talk about this on our call? They fill it out. They come back with, they care about resale. They care about neighborhood knowledge. They care about housing features. I got that all day long. You know what they didn't circle? They didn't circle commission. And this is a buyer. And we had the conversation with Mr. Buyer. I want to let you know that we charge 3% and a transaction fee. And we will send over those documents for you so you can sign this. We will work to negotiate those fees with the seller if we're able, but in the case that we are not, we will come to you for the difference. And they said, sounds good. That's what I was expecting.
Dovetailing in for number 2, that's our most impactful, right after number 1.
Bob, real quick, I know we're going to get a million texts on this. So you want to know where they find that list of things that the buyer wants? So you can go into NAR. It's free. Every year they do a survey. It's a survey for the buyers and the sellers of specifically what they were looking for, why they picked their agent. Why they picked their agent is one of the key categories, and it'll show you what they care about. So if you go into NAR, which you are all members of NAR still, while they're still open
today,
after paying 418 million, that's where you can find that list, and it's thick. So please go in there, take a look what's important as you're building your buyer's packet, the thing that 98% of agents do not have. Let's start separating ourselves from the rest.
Now, again, what we do is we are not discount agents. So if you want a discount, please do not call us. What we do with that list of NAR is then we add the value-based questions, right? What are the things that you care about? Is saving your time or saving your money? And so that gives us an ability to round that out. So when people pick things like, I don't want to buy a flooded home because I've lived in a flooded home before, or, oh, I don't want to lose money because I've lost money on my resale before, or, oh, stucco in Houston's a big deal. I don't want to have a $50,000 stucco problem, or, oh, I don't want to have the pipes torn up under my house. It's easy for them to pick those things because those are the things that we help our buyers navigate around. So then again, tool number one is that list. And again, as Michael said, you can take the NAR one. It's a very good place to start, but customize it for your business. If you're a discount broker, right, then you probably want a lot of fee-based stuff on there. If you're a value-based broker, then make sure that you're able to talk about value. So then the next page that we give immediately right after this, that's easy, is we have snippets of benefits. Remember, benefits are only one of two things. I've saved you time or I've saved you money, right? I've only saved you time or I've only saved you money. And the benefits that we go to are stories, because out of our testimonials, we have snippets. Oh, we helped somebody avoid a $300,000 problem. Oh, we helped them avoid a $150,000 stucco problem. Oh, we've helped them be able to do a white glove service transfer because they're an executive. Oh, we've helped them find these things. And so it's really easy to have a conversation when you're nervous talking to a buyer about money, that you're able to first say, what do you value? Please circle. And then number two is you've gone into your list of options for your benefits that are easy for you to talk about. Now, again, this is what we've been working on for the last 4 months. And I say it will take you a little bit of time to go from what did you circle to what do you tell? We found it's taken probably 2 months, 2.5 months to get comfortable. So again, you're going to want to practice. And then number three, this is the third best tool, is your pricing menu. And so we'll talk about this a little bit more today, but in your pricing menu, what you want to avoid is the person that comes to you and says, hey, will you give me a discount on your side? And you're like, okay, maybe I'll give you a 0.5% fine. Hey, I want to price my house $200,000 over. And oh, by the way, I don't want to pay anything to the buyer's agent. And oh, by the way, I want everything to be accompanied. And I really want you to do drone photos and make a video for me.
And will you also pay for staging too?
And will you also pay for staging too? And so if you are having conversations, it is really hard to say no to the appropriate entire conversation, because you might say, will you do something that's not 3% listing? Maybe, depends on who you are. Will you do something where you don't pay the buyer's agent? Well, what we have on our pricing guide is all the data. So we have pulled from all of Houston how many listings did not pay the buyer. And we know the price impact that that has on the days on market impact. And we've broken it down by every strata of commission. So when you're making a decision on what you want to pay the buyer, the data we can give you is, well, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what post-July holds, but up through today, I know what the last 12 months of data has said.
And
And-
Mr. Seller, you can make whatever decision
You
you
can make
want to
what-
make. And guess what? As an agent, I can make whatever decision I want to make. I don't have to choose to work with them.
And so, Michael, here's where I see your activities. So we export this from Hard Daily, and this goes into our guide. This is where Keller Williams has an unbelievable advantage because, right, we currently get 80,000 or so sales. Keller Williams, with all the agents in the room, by being able to provide that data, is a competitive advantage for agents. Because again, on our pricing guide, it's got 3 different boxes. Box number 1 is, what do you want to pay us? List of options. Box number 2 is, how do you want to price? Aspirational, right? Price really high, set on the market. 2, perceived market value, right? What do you think the comps say? And then 3 is event-based pricing. So something that's going to have the highest impact of getting us multiple buyers. And then the third component that you're given is, what would you like to pay the buyer's agent? And the value is you can choose to pay, you can choose to negotiate, you can choose to not pay. But in order to help you make a wise decision, we're giving you the data on what everybody else does. Because all the high I's in the room are going to be like, ooh, what did my neighbor do? And the high D's are like, well, how far down can I go if I squeeze them on price? And what impact does it have? And the high S's and C's say, oh, specifically I have to sit this much longer on the market, and specifically I get this much less in the end. Wow, that's really good data. And so that's the way we've approached it. Bang. Okay, so again, I know we're running out of time, and I know it's really sad that Holly does not have as much time as she'd like. So we're going to give you examples of conversations that we've been practicing. And we are not big on scripts. Our mission is to help people make wise decisions. And most of our conversations are based upon what therapists use, asking questions. It's going to be very short.
It's going to be very short.
Very short. Because and Michael, we could probably do another one that's longer, but because I know we're going to run out of time. What we're doing,
We're baby stepping. They just spent 3.5 hours listening to some stuff. You can give it your all right now, but I know that we're gonna have the opportunity. I'm praying to do this again in a bigger forum, with
we
more
can do
time.
this in a bigger format. Again, we're just the high Ds and the high Is. We've run out of brain cells
Yeah.
for sitting and listening.
Ouch. The SCs are like, yeah.
I'm like, no, we haven't got started.
Okay,
I
so
might have done that.
the very first tool, and this is what everybody can use, and this is one of the tools that you can use on nearly every conversation, is a mirror. And so this is how a conversation can go is, hey, Holly, will you give me a discount on my listing?
Discount?
Yeah, Holly, I think it's really important for us to make sure that we're not paying full price.
Full price?
Yeah, Holly, it's really important for me to net the most amount of money.
What about netting the most of money is so important?
And so you see the simple script from the mirror is you take 1 to 3 words from what they said and you just paired it right back. And I feel really good because I'm talking. And because I'm talking, Holly's getting more information. So that, again, it'll take some time to practice, but it's one of the most easy things that you can do.
And it also says Holly's showing actively listening and getting information so that she can then, the chance that she can then help her client make life.
The next tool that you build into that, so Holly's, again, really, really simple, really, really easy. The next one that you build into that is something called a label. A label is, it seems like, it feels like, and what you are doing is you're not saying, I heard you say, because that has the word I, but from when I tell you something, you use the word, it seems like, and then it also, you use dynamic silence and you let the person keep talking. So, hey, Kim, will you give me a discount on the listing?
Bob, it sounds like netting the most money is important to you.
Kim, you're exactly right. I really want to make sure that I can net the most amount of money because I'm going to need this money in my next home.
It sounds like it's important for you. Excuse me, let's go. It sounds like it's important for you to buy your next home and you want to ensure that you can afford it.
And so you see what she did there with the labels. And again, there's short labels, there's long labels, but it gives you the chance to parrot it back and to show that you're hearing. And this is one of the only sport contacts where if you attempt it and you're wrong, the other person will love it because they love to correct you. So we're going to use just one example of that. You're going to give me a mislabel, something that's wrong. Hey, Kim, will you give me a discount on my listing?
Bob, it sounds like you want to pay full price.
Kim, not at all. And so you see, I'm really excited to jump back in. And the value you get of those very, very, very simple tools is you can use them in every conversation. Thank you. Who's got Feel Felt Found? Is that Violet? Okay. One of the next ones, we had Joe Williams spend the night at our house. He taught us this. This was incredibly fun. And so this is one of the more ubiquitous tools in our toolbox. Hey, Kim, will you give me a discount on my listing?
Bob, I completely understand how you feel. We've had a lot of clients who have felt the same way. And what we found is netting the most money was most important to them.
And so the value of the Feel Felt Found is immediately you don't say yes or no. Immediately you say, I can understand how you feel. We've had a lot of other people who have felt the same way. And then in your found, turn it to something that you think is going to be helpful for the situation. Obviously, in these conversations, you're explaining value rather than price. We're going to jump over 1 or 2 of the other ones. We're going to go to the calculator conversation. Violet, is that you? This, again, from some of the Gary Keller top masterminds, this was a great overview. It's a little bit more complicated, and so this will take you a little bit longer, but the concept works very, very well. Hey, Violet, will you give me a discount on my listing?
Would you be okay with the 2.75%
commission? Violet, I'm really looking for half a point off. I'm at 2.5%.
Okay. Would you be able to do me a favor and get your calculator out?
I can do that. I'm going to use this one as an example because, of course, we've done the math.
Perfect. So you're talking about 0.5%, correct?
Yes, I'm talking 0.5%.
On a $500,000 home?
Yes, I'd like to list my house for $500,000.
Okay, so about $2,500.
That's exactly what my calculator shows, Violet. $2,500 is what we're talking about here.
Perfect. So why don't we list for $502,500? And if we could get you that, would you be happy?
So what Violet did there is also said, rather than take the money out of your pocket, let's adjust the list price. And so you're like, oh, first of all, I'm looking for a discount. I'm looking for a $2,500 discount. Why don't we just change the list price to $502,500? We've seen that also be incredibly effective at different times, depending on how far you into the conversation. And the last one is our single favorite tool on how to deal with commission conversations. Paige, you want to go through this?
Yeah, but I'm gonna ask Violet to give us the examples.
Okay, so here's the example. Violet, I want you to do a listing for 1.5%. I want everything accompanied. I want staging, paid staging. I want you to make sure you're always there for me. I want to call you daily at night at 8 o'clock, and I don't want to pay the buyer's agent anything.
Okay, now before she's going to rank our client, this person, we work very hard within our organization to practice personally within our value system. So we have 5 core values. They are accountable, they are care, they are coachable, they are knowledge, and they are transparency. And that is the way in which we desire to interact with our clients. That is what we owe our clients, and it's what we expect our clients to provide for us. Now, not always are we in a position to be 100% on the value grid. But when we go through this, you'll see how we're going to rank and whether or not this would be someone in which we should work with. So we're going to call that person
Bad Bob.
Bad Bob. All right, so Bad Bob. Okay. Violet, was Bad Bob accountable?
No,
What made him not accountable?
it was not.
Yeah, let's get you a mic.
Oh, here.
He was not accountable because he wanted all of the services for a discount, and he's not, he wasn't accepting that would not be.
Okay, so we're gonna give him your options, by the way you get to grade is you get a plus minus if you're kind of, or a minus. So Bad Bob gets a minus right there. How about care? Did he give you care by asking you to talk on the phone at midnight all the time? Because that was just the only time it was convenient for him.
Yep, no care, so
Oh,
minus.
all right. So what happens when you tried to give him advice and opinions? Was he coachable?
Nope, not coachable. And you may be on the fence with this after one meeting, but if they're giving red flags, you can probably make the assumption that throughout the transaction, they're not going to listen to anything you have to say.
Did he care about the knowledge you brought, or did he show knowledge of the process?
No, and he showed an unwillingness to learn.
Ooh. Okay. Was he transparent with you and what he wanted?
Yes.
Oh, no, Bad Bob gets a plus.
And I'll add that they don't have to tell you. You see it through their actions.
So did Bad Bob, do you think he gets it?
No.
All right. Do you think he wants it?
Yeah.
Okay. Does he have the capacity to actually get what he wants?
If you allow it.
So for us, not a capacity. So this gentleman has lots of negatives and 2 pluses. You gonna work with him? Okay. What if Good Bob? Okay. Good
called-
Bob,
Good Gloria.
Good Gloria.
So, Violet, think about your favorite client. I'm going to try to emulate that person. They say, Violet, I have loved the reviews about you. I have absolutely loved all of the history and the guides that you have sent. I know you live in the Heights, and I'm also excited to sell in the Heights. And I would really love the opportunity if you would consider representing me and working with me.
Great.
Okay. So when you met with Good Gloria, was she accountable to the things she said she would be accountable for?
Yes.
And I show up on time.
Okay, that's accountable,
Right.
right? Did she give you care?
Yes, she showed care for my time.
Was she coachable on the things that you offered advice and opinions? Did she take that and learn with that?
Yes.
Okay. Did she care about the knowledge? Did she have knowledge? Did she show that she valued knowledge?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Was she transparent in what she wanted from you?
Yes.
Does she get it?
Yes.
Does she want it?
Yes.
Does she have the capacity for it?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, these are two very easy examples. In real life, you're going to have a lot of people where either you don't know or it's a mix. And so what we set is a standard. And the standard is 3 pluses, 2 plus minuses, no minuses. So if somebody says, oh my gosh, I represent what you care about, but I always want to call you at midnight, that's probably a minus on care. What you get from this is, so we've had our best quarter in years. We are above plan. And what many of our agents give that credit to is the fact that by doing this at every team meeting and at every one-on-one, they identify their bad clients, they get rid of them, and they get new ones. And that gives them energy. And by having energy, you're able to make more calls. The more calls you make, the more people you put in the funnel, the more contracts you have. So think about it this way, as for sellers, do you understand what it takes to sell a house? And so do I fundamentally understand, like you'll have conversations with people, drive through, service anywhere, and there's something that's not clicking in their brain. So when you talk to a seller and you say, again, you're Rice Military, you're 45 days on market, you're typically paying buyer side 99% of the time, here's the structure, and that just doesn't compute, that would be somebody who doesn't get it. Want it? Do I have a desire to move, right? Hey, look, I'm looking to move because I've got relocation. Or, oh, by the way, I want to go take a look at some houses because houses are pretty and you have a car and I'd like to go in the car with you. Right? That's the difference. And capacity for it is, do they have the financing and the ability? So, right, if somebody doesn't fully own the house, they don't have the capacity. If somebody doesn't have the financing to buy a new house, they don't have the capacity for it. Now, remember, the first 5 values are the values of the Houston Properties team. So for you and your organization, those may be different. Those are our values and what we look for, both in our team members and in our clients. And by using this grid and using this as a regimented process in every meeting and every one-on-one, it gives people the opportunity to say, wow, this is why I don't like so-and-so. This is why my energy is low. This is the problem that I've had. And this tool has been revolutionary for us.
Well, and truthfully, if we're real honest with ourselves, we're not losing more buyers and sellers because of the NAR ruling, right? These are people who wanted a discount and wanted to have that conversation and didn't want to sign your agreement and made it difficult. You just get rid of them faster so you can actually work with the people who want your help, right? It's really easy. Let me ask you this question. How many of you hire a professional to do your taxes? Okay, how many of you use TurboTax? How many of you do taxes on your own? A few, right? So am I going to get the person who does taxes on their own to use the professional? Maybe, but maybe that's the person who wants to do it the hard way and on their own, right? If I'm choosing TurboTax option, that could be, I might be able to move them to a professional. It may be that what they have is in this need and those are opportunities and offers that I can give them, right? So it's the same model here. You're just getting rid of the bad apples faster. And that's all it is.
Violet, will you just tell the group what you've learned from going through this process about firing faster?
Yes. So I have had a few bad clients and it has taken a toll on my just headspace overall. And I've gotten to the point where I have not wanted to talk to anyone. And I'm a high D, high I. I love people. I love helping people. And so that's not a great feeling. So now I have better spidey senses at detecting who's going to be a time waster and drainer. And so I find that by asking certain questions and really sitting down at a coffee shop, getting to know someone, getting to know what they value has helped me tremendously because I'm able to fire them way before rather than going through all of the pain and headache and all the time spent talking on phone and not having that benefit both of us in any way, because sometimes we're just both drained, we don't get along, and it's not a great situation to be in.
Who's in there? Yeah.
All right, but one key difference that we need to take into account, how much time do you guys spend lead generating?
When you say lead generating, things may be different than what this group does lead generating.
Well, that's what I'd like to get to. When you lead generate, you have the ability to fire people. You have options. And that's what this team has done since day one of coming in. There is a process, an expectation to lead generate, and they do it very effectively, but they do it very consistently. you open up the opportunity to let people go that are bad Bobs. When you lead generate, you have other options. And that's the key to this. It's germane to the conversation that you still need to lead generate consistently.
All right, I want to pull in the property Joes real quick.
And
Here,
I'm gonna give you this.
Joe and I have been in the office for about the same amount of time. Yeah, new, very new.
Both of us.
Yeah, okay.
So,
What you guys are doing is different. What you're seeing in the shift, and what you guys are doing.
okay. So just for everybody, we started about the same time. Carrie came on about 7 years ago during Harvey, which is a great time to come into the business. So he came through a difficult time. And I was the first one that went into the deep hole of despair right after the settlement happened. And I was like, crap, I'm gonna have to find another job because everything's gonna go to hell in a handbasket. And what did you tell me about your experience with Sprint and AT&T when you were a sales manager there?
Gosh. Well, I came from telecom, and those of you that have been around more than, I don't know, 10 years, telecom went through a huge change for a good 15 years. I mean, we were told every other month that we're going to cut everybody in this office except for two. Which one are you going to be? And you would stay up all night worried about it.
Out of 100 people.
And then they might not cut everybody, or I mean, whatever. So I mean, this is normal for me. I mean,
So what he told me was, okay, you have about 5 minutes and
Oh,
get
yeah.
back in there and regenerate. That was the first thing he told me.
you can
okay?
cry, take 5 minutes and cry
Right.
about it. But it's not even until July. Y'all, we've got work to do. I mean, I
Right.
got to get back to making calls.
So the first thing is that's what he did. The second, we started engaging all of our clients, right? We're known as realtors to hide our head in the sand. A lot of times we're blamed for non-communication, right? So we coach with Brian Buffini, who does we do a business by referral. And so we're told to call our buyers every day until they tell us not to, which indicates their priority. I mean, you can ask them their priority, but they may demonstrate something differently. And then you can have the conversation, oh, I thought it was a priority for you. Oh, no, I'm not really that ready because of this, whatever, right? So you may move them to an every twice a week or once a week. Sometimes I move them off, right? So that's the one thing we do that. And then sellers we call every week, unless there's a showing or an open house that we call on that Monday, and we have to set a schedule. If you do not tell your sellers a schedule and you don't follow through on it, right? So that's on you. In terms of communication, you need to make sure that, like, I book it on my calendar because I'm going to forget or something's going to happen that's going to cause me to skip that appointment. I don't want to degrade trust by my actions. You got to make sure that you're doing that. What else? What do we do?
Something Paige mentioned a minute ago was the consultation you do with your clients, whether buyer, seller, the consult. What has saved, I think, us a ton of conversation is we've gone over this compensation piece with everybody at least once. And then I usually do it 2 or 3 more times as we go through the showing process. And so whether it's that, whether it's they're paying earnest and option, I mean, all the gotchas along the way. I mean, I am to the point now where if you will not, as a buyer, if you will not sit down with me and do a consult, I will not work with you.
So, and that's the biggest piece, because we're salespeople. We like to talk at our clients, right? Because we're thinking about the 3 other clients, or the inspection report that's going to go sideways, or somebody's going to drop me as a client or whatever. All of those things are going through our head. Make space when you sit down and have that consultation. He does a really good job with it. Yes, you're supposed to have a presentation. That's only as a guideline. We know that people don't read. We send them as a pre-listing thing, blah, blah, blah. They tell you all these really cool, nifty tactics to do. But at the end of the day, people are so busy, right? So you're going to try to grab that space with them and then sit down and just listen. Like when they were talking about, it's called a 3x3, right? Hey, what are the things that you're interested about buying this house? I need it quiet. I need it in a safe area, and I need it close to school. What's important about it being quiet? And then you drill down on their answers, and then you go back onto being close to schools and all that stuff. So it's called a 3x3. Alex McCauley does that at open houses, and she's excellent with that. But if you don't sit in that space at half an hour to an hour doing the consult, you won't pick up on cues. There's a lot of things that they're conveying, and it's okay if you do it Zoom, it's okay, but it's better face to face because there are things conveyed and energy conveyed that you won't pick up on Zoom. Right? And we like to move in that. I know it, we want to be efficient, but on the side of spending all that time going through the process, showing them properties or listing, and then they go sideways because of something that you didn't pick up at the beginning of consult, you could have stopped it earlier. We do about, we don't get very many leads, but we run a 100% referral business. It's through relationships, past clients and vendors. So we close about 98% of who we get. So we don't get like thousands of leads a day and stuff like that. But what we do get, we keep and we capture because we have this like process.
And to be clear, I don't take anybody that won't do the buyer's consult, but I do my lead gen every week. And that's, I can afford to be choosy because they are not the only person I'm working with, right? If they're the only person I'm working with, I might make a decision, honestly, but I do my lead gen, so. Anyway.
And the other piece that'll get you out of this hump is most of us don't like to track. If you're high D and high I, I don't like to track my calls. But when my income dives in a certain month and we're on a coaching call, our coach does this. Oh, let's pull up your activity from 90 days ago, right? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, ah. So let's have a conversation about what happened
It's
90
the
days
market,
ago.
it's the market.
Right?
And she's like, no, it's not the market. I mean, it's you, right?
Right, so track. If you track, it's very eye-opening. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Any guys, any questions? We have a question here. Go ahead. Yes. Hold on, can you get, we're gonna get you a microphone. Sharon. Thank you.
Okay, so what Bob was talking about was when they were talking about the listing, he could bring data to show what other sellers, did I get this right? What other sellers were paying in buyers agents commissions. Will we still be able to do that after July?
You know,
You want any help with that?
we're not really too sure what that's gonna look like. Here's what happens. Government intervenes, right?
Yes, I know.
Whatever they do.
Can we get them out of it?
Yeah, okay. Be careful who you vote for in this next election, right? I'm not picking a side. I have a side, but be careful who you vote for in this next election. That's all I'll ever say on that. Government intervenes, throws in a tailspin, and then we have a settling. And during the settling, we're going to see some things happen. Right now, it's title business. In the title business before April 1st, 2003, title companies were doing flyers, professional graphic designers, all free. And when I ran a title company, I was spending $1 million a year on that. Our profit was only about $2.5 million. $1 million of my money went towards paying for a graphic designer, print, all the paper, all the ink, everything. Then 2003, April 1st comes around, and this rule called P53 comes out. Government intervention saying, you can't do this. You're putting print companies out of business by doing this. The title industry was shaken up. They couldn't do anything more than their standard services. And then it's kind of lightened up since then. So this is what happens. This is the world that we live in. There's going to be an immediate reaction. We're not going to be putting our commissions into MLS, I don't think ever again, right? But right now we need to adjust for the market that's expected now. The market that's expected now, you better learn how to show your value to a buyer. You should have known that anyway. How long have you had a buyer's presentation?
Since I started in the business
There you go.
20-ish years ago.
Yeah. You've been with me for 15.
Yeah.
So you see what I mean? We should have already had this in place, but you didn't because you could kind of get by. You met them at an open house. They liked you, you liked them, and you went off and did your thing. That part is going to change. So let's get a great buyer's presentation. Let's be the best at representing buyers. On the seller side, let's be the best at showcasing your value and being able to articulate, I believe we should pay a commission so that your house doesn't expire and you don't become a statistic. Let's be great at that. So that's the real.
And use those B2 slides. I mean, they've done the hard work for you of telling you if you're like, sometimes I get it. You're like, what is my value? I don't know. It gives you the framework. But if you guys are not going to take the time to time block on your calendar and go work on these presentations, and then time block on your calendar to practice those presentations, and you're going to wait and practice with the consumer, good luck. You'll be out of business or you will be 2 years delayed. Please, please, please take the time. You've got 4 months to invest and use that time wisely.
How many people in
Can I
here are
say-
in coaching right now? You're in coaching because we make you do your first 3 transactions in coaching. You know, they have role play every day at 8:30 in the morning. Use that time if you're in the coaching program. If anybody else wants to get into role play, we will gladly put a role play group together, but we expect you to attend and participate.
I mean, if it was good enough for Gary to do it, I guess it's probably okay for
Yeah,
us.
he turned into a
Can
billionaire.
I say something on that? I joined with, in the associate, or the, what is it? The fellows program or academy with Paige's team, what, 3 years ago? Everything changed for me because of the discipline that Houston Properties made me adhere to and account to, and getting me over my frustration at role play. Because I hated script practice, and you can talk to James Selig. I was his worst person in Ignite one time, but they got me there.
Yeah.
And my business has gone much better, and I give them all the credit.
Well, Karen will have no problem with this change because Karen has never shown any client, anybody, or opened a door for somebody without a buyer's rep.
And I have had people walk away from me
Ever.
for doing it.
Ever, 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 right? She didn't meet them at the house and then hoped it would work out.
No, I didn't.
4 o'clock, time
Uh,
for cocktails.
All right, guys, let's go drink.
Should we do a raffle?
Yes,
Now?
give away
Oh
something.
yeah, raffle. Are you
Alright.
raffling cocktails?
What are we getting?
$100 gift card for Postino, so you can
What?
go.
Oh,
get a-
happy hour right there.
This gets you so much wine at Postino. All right. If you're not here, next, you know the rules. Bill, he was here earlier. Is he here? 3, 2, 1. Okay, next.
This is a harsh group.
What?
They don't wait a second.
No, I don't wait.
here.
Not here. I don't wait. They
He's
know.
washing his hands.
No, not my problem. Oh, Bernard, you cannot win twice. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to remove you.
What would you, wait a minute, would you like to give up? You already won.
He already did. I forgot to take him out. Rosa! Woo! Come on here, Rosa.